Yo, yo, yo. Awesome, cool. Hold on a second. I'm just getting my mic set up. I have us in studio mode, so we're not really. more or less. Okay, yeah. So we got the mic going. Okay, so. bring your audio in here, so let's see. Testing. Testing. Do we have audio? All right. Go ahead and give us a chat and see what happens.
Yo,
Oh, yeah.
see how that works? You can hear me on that side?
We got you, it looks like.
Yeah.
Right now, we
Yeah,
have
let-
8 people in here. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Just so everybody knows what's going on, we're going to be interviewing Nib Glass. Nib is over here on the right. His real name, his first real name is Nick.
Last name Baum.
Last name, what is it?
You might be interested for that matter.
Yeah, your name is your initials, correct?
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like a good moniker. It definitely it was easy to remember, number one, but it's always been something that's worked for me.
Okay.
And like obviously for different signatures along the way and stuff like that. Even in my art, I've always used nib just because it seemed a lot. I like the way it looked, and I've been able to find actually a pretty nice signature in Thai too. So
Awesome, awesome.
well.
Well, it looks like right now we have 11 people in here, so it's starting to fill up. It usually fills up about 7:10, 7:30. Like people know that we usually will go live at about 6:30, and then people actually come and start hanging out about 7:15 ish, 7:20. But we should be expecting about 20 or 30 people. As everybody knows, we're doing a raffle. We have a raffle tonight. Tonight's raffle is going to include a glass item. We have a Lerk key that we're giving away, a Lerk mat. We have 2 patches, so you get the black and white patch and the full color patch. You may have gotten it already in a subscription box, but it's another item. Here, I can actually show it off. I usually show off what we're doing here prior. So this is the Lerk key. Hard to see this. I'll post up some better photos tomorrow, but it's got 2 heads on it. One of the heads actually has an opal, which is pretty cool too. But so we're giving that away, and then we also have a burnt Lerk mat that we're giving away, as well as some hat pins. So I know everybody's been getting the hat pins in the subscription boxes, but we have a set of 6 here. They're all numbered to 100, which is super cool. And other than that, last month we had Solo Glass on. If you guys didn't check that out, that recording went up just a couple days ago. We had that recording go actually live on the YouTube, so you guys can go check that out now. Volume went way down. Oh, I'm sorry, homie. There you go. Can you guys hear me now?
I'm between the two of us. Who knows how this?
Oh no, we're doing good. No, I think I turned my volume down just by accident there. I'm sure you guys can hear me now. Come on. If you guys haven't checked it out, just a couple days ago we put the Solo interview up live. That is on YouTube. You can go check that out now. The link is probably just showing here on your YouTube feed as you're watching this one. Just save it for later. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. That's always super helpful, super helpful. But let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we have Nib. Like we said before, Nib Glass. How the hell are you, man?
Good, great, man. Just enjoying the quarantining, I guess you could say. Trying to do my best to keep my family safe and all that fun
Okay.
stuff. So
You're in Florida, right?
Just working my tail off,
You're in Florida, correct?
Yes.
And what part of Florida?
Not quite quarantine. It's more of a personal thing that way. I'm not for say just careful safety, But I'm good. I'm working my tail off, so I really can't complain.
What part of Florida do you live in?
West Palm Beach.
Okay,
West Palm
cool.
Beach.
South Florida.
So, yes.
And you've been there your entire life?
No, I'm originally from New York. I was born there in '81. At this point, so it was West Nyack is where I grew up until I was about 8, and then my folks moved down here. I still have a lot of family up there and everything else, but for the most part, I consider myself to be a Florida person. Definitely not quite Florida man by any stretch, but definitely
Florida man. Oh my God, that's so funny you just said that, bro.
Terrible. I know, it's hilarious. Always hilarious,
I'm from Florida myself too, and I always feel weird because I don't live there anymore, obviously, but I always feel weird telling people I'm from Florida because not because I assume they assume something, but I assume that they assume that.
What's funny is that on my road trip, which we'll get to, that was one of the things that I noticed is that like I kind of had to tell people like, first of all, like South Florida is something you don't want to say to anybody in like the Northwest. In some ways, it's like, yeah, I'm from Florida. Like they just look at you like, really? Are you? They're just questioning. They're like, are you one of them? Do we have to worry about you?
No, that's my point. That's so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Okay, yo,
so
and the
I'm not. I don't swim with alligators. I don't do any of the
well, the
craziness.
South Florida thing. Don't. I'm not saying this in a bad way. That nothing's bad about this. But do you feel the South Florida thing is because it's like hood as fuck?
Say that again now. Sorry, I
Because
was
it's
reading the
like
comments.
hood, bro. It's hood as fuck down there, bro.
Well,
Or
it can be.
or do you
There's
think people
definitely
think you're a zombie?
it's weird. There's definitely places that are more so depending on where you go, but at the same time, like like where I live at is very like the exact opposite of that.
Oh,
Honestly,
you're
like
in a
the
nice
town I grew
area.
up in,
Okay, okay.
it's not. You know what, man? The funny thing is, like when we moved down here in '81. By the way, I just wanted to say, Spooky, thank you. The Chad Lacey Pistons a badass piece. I just happened to notice the comment there.
Yeah,
But,
boy. Yeah, see, people are
uh,
showing love, bro. Yo, no
I
messing
appreciate
around.
that, man.
Yo, homie said no
No,
messing around.
yeah, nostalgic art. I live in Broward in Miami, and bro, it's good. Yeah, it definitely, Miami can be, and there's definitely, I don't, but I got love for Miami in other ways too. Like I got shops and friends down there. It's, it has its parts, everything has
Well,
its
I've
charm.
been to
Is the way I
Delray.
put
I've
it.
been to Delray and West Palm, and those areas are nice, but there's definitely areas around there that you go over a little bridge, and all of a sudden you're like, where are we?
All right, so, well, that's kind of what I was. All right, so I live in Wellington, is kind of is the town, and I grew up down here. Like when we moved down here in '89, it was a very different place. Like there was a lot of the roads were still not even paved. It was very like our house when we moved in was there was like I think we were one of four houses in the neighborhood, and it's changed over time. Like I moved out of here for a while, and I mean I actually moved back in here a few years ago to help like a number of personal reasons. I'll leave it at that. But basically, like the neighborhood has changed, and the whole town has changed so much that it's such a money town in a certain way. It's kind of weird. Like it's a lot of highly it's an equestrian town, so there's
There's
all sorts of
horses?
polo. Oh yeah, there's polo, and like there's
Hell
all sorts of
yeah.
movie stars who live in like these little neighborhoods and shit in here. Like there's things you wouldn't even believe because it's just like in this little tiny corner nook. I
Oh, that's
honestly,
awesome.
we're kind of over it. Like we've been here a long time. My folks are over it. Like everybody's just kind of we're in the process of trying to make that jump, But it's been an interesting place.
They call it like
So,
gentrification, correct? Is that what you're saying?
you know what?
Or
I
are
think
you
this was a
saying,
plan.
or are
This
you
was a
saying
plan
it's
from the get go. This spot was like kind of planned. It just got indefinite, like really, really, really highly consolidated at a certain point. A few people were like, "Ooh, we can like bring in money," and it just there's a whole lot of stories
but
about
you're
like
saying it's not the
people in
city where you live.
Wellington is where that's where I live.
But it's not like
It's
it's not like Miami Beach. It's not like living in Miami Beach.
no, it's not. It's a suburb. It's
Yeah, that's what
suburbia.
I'm saying.
I,
Yeah, yeah.
I live in straight suburbia. Like it's nothing, and I don't claim for anything else. Like it's straight up. That's
Okay,
just what it is.
okay.
I mean, it's not bad. There's decent food, decent people.
No,
It's
there's
just
other glass blowers there too. You were telling me.
well outside of there in Lake Worth, not Lake Worth, a little bit down west in toward West Palm Beach. My buddy Kismet Glass.
Cool.
I don't know if anyone else follows him, but Kismet Kyle, awesome dude. He actually just did a little interview earlier too. A little, I say he did an interview earlier too. My mistake there. But he's with another person. But and then Chad Lacey and Adrian are here. Chad Lacey and Adrian. They're right up the road from me, so we're close friends, and I talk to them all the time. So there's definitely like people, and I actually Sean Hegeman used to work down here. There was a number
Yeah,
of
what
different
the hell
people.
happened to him? I know that's so random and off topic. Is he still blow glass?
He just started back up. Actually,
Okay.
he went through a whole bunch of life changes. Like a lot of things
What
went
an
on with him. He
amazing
wanted to move
glass
to
blower.
Georgia. What's that?
He was an amazing glass blower who was just so
Yeah,
random and like
well, he's still
underground.
amazing. He didn't touch a torch for like he sold a lot of his stuff, and he moved up to Georgia. He's got a house now. And he set up this great studio with
Very cool.
his significant other, and they're blowing glass now, and he's posting up videos a whole bunch. And like his talent he hasn't gone anywhere. He's still super talented on what he does, and he's actually been a really good friend of me all through the years too. Like he was especially in the beginning when I was a complete noob in squids. As
When did you
say.
start? When did you start blowing glass? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Go back.
That gets
going
us.
back
That keeps us
probably,
on topic there. When did
it's
you
about
start?
like 9. It's about like 8 or 9 years.
8 or 9 years. Okay, so like 2012.
About right around then. Yeah, I don't have an exact. Honestly, like I didn't keep track in the beginning, so like I have to think back. It's like yeah, somewhere right around that point, 2011, 2012. I think it was like the end of 2011.
And you
so.
started here in Florida.
Yes.
With
yes.
those guys, like how the give us the story that keeps us on track here with who you are and what the fuck's going on. Where
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about all my.
No,
friends.
I got off topic with you, bro. We want to
all
know
good.
about you though
Yeah, no.
on
All right,
that story.
let's go back to the start, which is like we had kind of touched on this a little bit when you and I talked before, but
Wait, let's be clear there. I originally was asking you how you were originally attracted to glass, but within that question, you being originally attracted to glass, how did you get started, and how did you originally get into it? Like, how did you first see it? Start there.
All right, all right, sure. My first experience was around 16. Buddy of mine, he was my neighbor at the time. Unfortunately, rest in peace. He's no longer with us. My friend Troy took me to he was the first person I smoked weed with. Introduced me to a whole bunch of people at school and stuff like that. This was high school, so he brought me over to the place called Twilight Zone, which I don't know if you'd ever heard about them along the way, but it was this owner George and Ruth, great people, and I walked in at 16 years old, and I should not have been in the back room, but at that time in 90, what is it? We're talking about 96 or so. This is before pipe dreams. Like, this is a long time ago. So it was a very different atmosphere.
Even how old are you? Sorry to interrupt. How old are you?
Me? I'm gonna be 40 this year.
Okay. So that puts it in perspective. 96. You were around.
Yeah.
You were born in 80.
What's that?
You were born in 80.
81. So I was 16. It was 97. Sorry,
okay.
97. Yeah, that's where that probably about then. I went into Twilight Zone, and I needed a pipe, and I didn't have very much money, so I bought a whatchamacallit, just a regular metal pipe at the time. But they had the cases, and they had all sorts of different stuff. They had one piece, like they had a few pieces from Ray Olson, baby Ray Olson at the time. He was making these crazy big dragons that were like, these dragons were like this tall, sitting on a vase, and like wings and all sorts of shit. And I've seen them. I looked at all the glass in the place, and I was just enamored. And I kept my mouth shut because at 16 years old, I wasn't really able to buy anything. But as we're looking through, I kind of like that one. I mean, like, he'd buy he'd buy whatever he could because he was a couple years older than me at the time. So we that was my first introduction there to glass, and I wound up buying a pipe shortly after that, like a glass pipe. I saved up and got one with it was my first pipe had yin yangs on it, and
it was glass.
Oh yeah, it was really my first glass pipe. Sorry, my first metal pipe was metal, and then my second pipe was glass.
Okay.
And I got to collecting. Every time I had extra money, I'd go to Twilight and I'd buy stuff. It even got to the point where I could go in there under 18 and buy, and like, I hate to throw they don't own the store anymore.
I've never heard of this store.
Whatever, like
it was just a local head shop.
It was a very different time, and it was a local head shop. And they knew me at that point, so it was a very different point. So I was like enamored with glass itself as a collector for years. Like, that's where it started. I went off to college. There was one time, and this is the other part of the story I wanted to tell you about. There was a party I went to. I was like a year and a half or so later, something like that. So it was another group of friends who invited me out to this party in Loxahatchee, which anybody who knows Florida knows Loxahatchee.
There's a song about it.
You can hear the sound. It's kind of like at the time too. It was the sticks. Like, it was just kind of like all dirt roads and everything. I had to go with a friend who had a 4x4 vehicle because the house was on a road that had dips and shit to get out there. It's crazy. But
there's a whole song about it.
What's up?
There's a whole song about the place.
Could be.
Very recent. No, I'm telling you, it's like a country song. I'm trying to think who sings it, but
about Loxahatchee?
Yeah, dude, and that's what it's called.
I need to look that up.
It's called that.
I'm not a country fan, but I actually, for that, I'll listen.
It's called that, and they talk about how the song starts off talking about how there's a place to go where you can like disappear and you don't have to worry about anybody. And they're talking about that spot. I can't think of who the musician is, whoever the artist is, but
what's funny is that these days it's not quite as backwoods as it used to be. But at the time, like I said, we had to go in a 4x4 truck to this guy's house. And we went to a house party. It was like a bunch of us. We went out there.
Sweet. Barn party, I guess they call that.
I walked to the back patio at one point, and there's a guy blowing glass.
Sweet.
On the patio. Yeah, it was great.
Who was it?
Huh?
You know who it was?
I have no clue. I have no idea the dude's name. I wish I could find him. And like, I've always I tell this story occasionally because I hope that somebody's gonna be like, oh, I know somebody that used to work down Loxahatchee. Like, I would love to find him because basically, like, I watched him. He was making like a bubbler for somebody, and he had he had no ventilation. He had nothing. It was like a little. I think he was on a whatchamacallit, a national to the best of my knowledge. Like, I don't even remember. Like, I just remember the station being a mess. He had vermiculite in a freaking crock pot, and he was making a bubbler for somebody. And I'm watching him like stripe down color and do all this different shit in there. I'm like, I just watched him like, oh, party's going on. There's girls. There's all sorts of different stuff going on everywhere. I'm watching the glass blower. And he gets done with what he's doing, and I look at him and I'm like, I had like $10 in my pocket, and I looked at him and I was like, hey, I don't know you, man, but like, is that enough to buy something? Could you make me something for that $10? And he's like, yeah, dude, I got you. And he fucking took the $10 and I watched him make me like a little chillum, and he fucking fumed it out and had this, it was just a basic little, just chillum with like a nice little bowl on it and put a little millie on there. But I watched him make it,
That's so
and
cool.
I cherished that pipe for years, man. Like totally, it was, man, that was it was really it was one of the starts to like my love of glass in general. Unfortunately, that one broke in college. Fell off my lap getting out of a car.
Classic.
Yeah, what it is. But I had it for a long time, and it was definitely a mission. So,
it surpassed the yin yang and coolness.
In a chillum.
It was a chillum. It was a chillum. It wasn't a spoon.
I had the Indian pipe already at that point.
Okay.
I had a couple of glass pieces, but I had never watched anybody make some.
Okay, so the first time you scooped a piece was a chillum. That's super cool. That's my favorite piece too, like early on.
Yeah. So basically, from at that point, I kind of considered doing glass, and I talked to people about it, and I got misinformed at the time. I was told that every year you did as a glass blower took 10 years off your life.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like there was some really weird shit I got told by friends and people who didn't know anything about it, because Florida is Florida. Like, we didn't have the scene even at the time that like Oregon had, where people were at least kind of experimenting, and I didn't even know about it. Like, a lot of the glass we were getting down here was coming from out there. So like I didn't even know any of it. All I was in this little tiny bubble of a world here in some senses growing up in it, and it took a long time for me to see all of those different factors that came into play. But after a while, I kind of gave up on that, and I wound up going a completely different road. I went to college, and I tried to find my way in all sorts of different things, and I didn't. Like I wound up coming back after I went to Santa Fe for a minute up in Gainesville, came back home after having too much fun. Is basically the best way to put it.
What year is this at this point?
That's 2001. I graduated in 99. Took a year off.
So right around like you're saying like 9/11 happens and you're in college or you're out of college?
I was home. Not all right. So you're gonna get to that. I remember exactly what that was. I was home for like I guess you call it a gap year. That year after high school, where I was just working at an odd job. I think I was delivering pizzas at the time, or whatever the hell I was doing. Because I mean, I had worked all sorts of other jobs. I worked at Publix. I worked so many different stupid little jobs just to keep things going. But that at that time, I actually remember I was living here at the time, and my buddy Ryan called me up that morning, and he never called me normally. It was like somebody who I had lived with up in Gainesville, or before he came up to Gainesville actually. Anyway, my friend Ryan calls me up and he's like, dude, you have to call. He's like, you have to turn on the TV, turn on the news. And he's like, the shit's hit the fan. I'm like, what are you talking about? What station? He's like, any station, doesn't matter. I woke up and I turned on the TV and I saw the first tower. And that was like the first, like I watched the tower on TV, and I was like, it took me a second to realize what the hell was happening. And then I ran into my folks' room and I was like, Mom, like, turn on the news. What do you want? Like, we all watched it together, basically, see everything happen. And yeah, that was.
You were right out of high school, you're saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right out of high school. It was my first real kind of, I mean, I kind of paid attention to a little bit of politics before that, but not much. I was in my own little world, and that was like everything. Like my buddy said, the shit hit the fan. And the world kind of changed very much for me, and obviously everybody.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering. Like that's such a weird time period.
I know I jumped here, but like that's definitely that is a good turning point moment.
That's such a good. That's such a weird. It's such an interesting thing. The reason why I ask is such an interesting time period to get into glass.
Well, all right, that's way before. Like what you're talking about, well before. This is like my life. You got to remember is that I also had.
I'm saying smoking weed around then must have been interesting, bro. I'm young.
Oh, well, that's true. Fair enough.
Like that's my point. Being around glass, seeing the culture.
How old were you when pipe dreams happened?
I'm telling you, my brother was blowing glass then. Like my brother's been blowing glass since '98. He was blowing glass when that happened, but I didn't experience anything glass related until I was until probably 2010. So what I'm saying is there's that between 2000 and 2010, that gap of pipe dreams and 9/11 and all this crazy shit. You were a stoner?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh yeah. No, I was a smoker.
That's what I'm wondering. What the fuck were you doing? Were you you sound like you're you talk the way you speak, and this is just observation. The way you speak like an intellectual. So I assume that you went to college at some point.
Yes, I did.
But I assume you're also a stoner at that time too.
Yes, I've been a smoker since I was 16. The very first time I smoked, I I don't even want to get into that. Yet again, Troy, get back to that story. I was 15, I think 15 or 16, and I had started smoking cigarettes first, which was stupid. I smoked cigarettes for a long time. Thankfully, I don't anymore. But yeah, it was after school, and basically after high school, everybody would walk out, and there would like I guess they say the freaks, everybody hang out in front, you
Yeah,
know,
the
like in the middle
classic.
of the stoop. Everybody's talking and all the other shit like that. Um, and I knew that he was my neighbor, but we had never really been friends, been friendly or whatever. And he asked, like, he knew I was smoking a cigarette, so he asked me for a cigarette. And then the next thing you know, he's like, you smoke weed? I'm like, yeah, yeah, I smoke. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, and like I had never gone even like close to that at all. Uh, so we go back over and he hangs out and he rolls up a J and we smoke the J on a patio. And he's got a little roach left and he packs it into a freaking tinfoil little pipe for me. And I smoke the roach and he starts telling me a story about I couldn't tell you to this day what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It was like the Charlie Brown teacher going, wah, 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 and there's a lake on the side of the house there. So like the lake is spinning or the lake is moving and the room's spinning. And all of a sudden, like after a few minutes, he turns to me and he goes, you know what I mean? And I just looked at him and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I had no idea. But from there, I was just in love. And it's been yes, I've been a smoker for a long
And
time.
you, but during that time period prior to getting into glass, you're saying you got into glass in like 2012. My point is between you getting into the culture, were you like
I got into making glass in 2012. I was actually selling glass at Marley's before that too.
okay,
We'll
so
get to
that's
that.
what I'm wondering. At what point
Yeah.
did you like commit to the weed and not even just
Industry.
weed, but
Okay.
what point did you commit? Like what I mean by that is like
So,
at
so
what
what I,
point did you
so
decide
I'll go through the timeline for you.
like when did you
Basically
decide that
after,
life was no longer 9 to 5?
well, that happened. All right.
Where the hell
I
did that
went.
come in? That's what I'm wondering. Because a lot of us work, like a lot of the people in here in the chat are 9 to 5ers, which is fine.
Sure,
But they're
sure.
trying to break free of that. Happened? And that's why I ask
Mm,
what happened.
all right. So, well, no, I was, like I said before, I was struggling to find my way in 2001, 2002 ish. Um, had no idea what the hell I was doing or what I wanted to do. I was going to school in Santa Fe, Gainesville. I was studying anything that I could kind of think was interesting and failing at a lot of it. So I left there. I came home. I worked as a pizza at a pizza place. I worked at another place. I worked at Lion Country Safari for a year and a half. That was
Okay.
interesting, you know. But like, yeah, I mean, like I did the boat tour for them. Like I did all sorts of random jobs for a long time. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I needed to make money. So obviously I needed to live, and I did what I did. You know, I finally decided to go back to school after a while, and I went to school for CNC machining and programming. So I
Like a
went
tech
to
program.
yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
It was a 14-month program, and I went and I got a job for 2.5 years at a place called Tibor. What's on Ted Jurassic Tool and Die. They make Tibor fly fishing reels. I ran machines and wrote code for them. So I was doing that, and I thought that I found something that I really loved. You know, like that was, in for me, was the direction at least at the time, and it was decent money and whatever else. And after the couple of years, I was still working at Marley's. I had been working at Marley's through school and everything else. Like my buddy, I don't know if I think you've met Joe
I know
before.
Joe. I know who Joe is, but nobody really knows who he is. He's like the owner of the main store there, or he owns all of them.
He owns the 4 stores down south,
Okay.
and then he has
But it's called
a
Marley's
floral.
Smoke Shop, and there's a lot of Marleys in Florida, but
There's
it's
also Marley's. There's Marley's house, and there's
yeah,
also
but
a
it
bunch
is
of other states and stuff.
Marley's. It's
Yeah,
the
Marley's is a
Marleys.
popular name. So Marley's down here,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So we I worked for him shortly. There's so many different jobs there, but while I was even going to school, while I had other jobs, I worked for him for like over like close to a decade, to be quite honest. Like in the middle there, I started working when he like it was like I think I was his second employee.
When
So
did when did this start again?
Marley's opened up. I want to say it was 2006 or seven.
Okay, so you were in your mid to late 20s, started working there.
Yeah, exactly. And
Cool.
like, and don't quote me on that. You'd have to like, you know what, man? I'm terrible with that shit. Like that's as you can tell with like the chronology of it all. I'm bad. It's a stoner moment. You
I'm
know,
just
go
wondering. I'm
figure.
wondering where in your life you
Um,
got into all this, because like I got into glass at 19, but I was never into weed or anything.
well, my life definitely circled around smoking.
And then
Not
at
gonna lie.
26, you got a job at a
And
smoke shop.
more for that. At times when I was young, I did a lot of dumb shit. I was definitely not. I was looking for anything to have fun and anything
Okay,
like that.
okay.
We had a group of friends I had were, like I said, Wellington can be a pretty boring place. We made it fun. We had a good time, and it was a lot of people and stuff like that, and a lot of people. It was just a different time. So for me, even growing past that, like I've done everything else around, but I've always centrally. I won't say it's been like my life focuses around smoking because it doesn't.
No, no,
That's a
no, for
part of
sure, for sure.
like it's a major part of my life. Like I know that is something that is a core to the whole.
The only
So
reason I'm even talking about smoking is because I know that you only blow glass. Like I don't know you as a glass blower from a fine art standpoint. I know you as a glass
not
blower
at
from
all.
the pipe scene, correct?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I never was into. All right, so I never went to art school. I never went to any of that type of stuff. I'm very like, and it shows in my work too. Like I've talked to people about it. Like a lot of how I design things, even the piston recyclers and stuff like that, they are very symmetrical and like they're angled and squared and like there's an engineering to it, because I'm like I said I was a machinist, so a lot of what my mind works in is in the blueprint side of building things and the schematics of it, and even going past, like, you go further back than that. When I was a kid, I used to build things out of, like, my parents love to remind me, I used to build Lego spaceships with like doors
Cool.
on them and things like that as a kid. So like my brain has always worked in a I can see things like in a mechanical way, I guess you could say.
Great.
It's hard to explain, but like I can dissect something in my head and see a plan, like a blueprint, or like a Lego. Like if you bring it down to Legos, like if you look at a Lego book, I can see that in my head.
Bro, I think those are the best glass blowers.
You know, well, they're listen. I appreciate that, and thank you. If that, I appreciate that compliment. I think that there are strong points to every glass blower. You know, or every type of glass blower for that matter. They're because I mean, guys like you who do sculpture, like I can sculpt, and I've done a few things. I have a few things that I won't show on camera because like they're copies of other people's work that I did for fun that I've kept for myself. But I'm not like I have to sit there and like dissect it. For me to create a creature, I could probably like, and I've done a few things, but not. It's a different. My mind works differently, so it's you and guys who can conceptualize the way that you do, and not and even other types of glass. Like, I can name a list of people that I would put on the same character level. That's or not. Sorry, that's the wrong
I
word
call it
for it. But
simple sculpt.
yes, but yes.
I think your
Okay.
technique and your style is truly what you said there. You like blueprint it out. Like you're build like I see your builds and feel like I'm looking at an engine.
Well, that's generally the idea. I mean,
You
it's
have
a
one
hundred
there.
percent.
Show one of them off real quick. I know you
Well,
have
yeah,
one.
I have a couple of them actually. So I've got.
And
Let's
to kind of stay on the timeline, we're not jumping ahead here, but more or less you were working at Marley's early on when you got into
Yeah.
glass.
I was working at Marley's part time, full time, back and forth and back and forth. Because, like I said, me and Joe have been friends for years since high school. He was one of my group of friends. And when he opened up Marley's, I was like, when you want somebody to work here, I'm down. Like, and we've worked out a great deal, and I stayed for a long time. And like, he was very supportive, especially when I started doing this, allowing me to even bring in stuff that I would
Show it
like my
off.
janky stuff on the table. Like, yeah, oh yeah, he was awesome about that. So,
Show it off real quick.
oh yeah, my bad.
What gray is that?
This is whatchamacallit, potion and whatchamacallit, pastel potion.
Oh, it looks
So
so great. I
give me
love the gray
one
tone.
second. I'll flip the light and I'll show you the
That great. What do you
exact
guys
thing.
think? Do you guys like this shit so far? This is pretty cool.
I don't know if I'll be able to get this. You know what I'll do is I'll just take my camera.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Hot damn.
Yep,
Wow,
there you
that
go.
purple is hot, bro.
Yeah, man, the pastel turned out
Jesus,
really
what's the white?
I believe it's just star white.
God, that color looks great. And I love you were talking about this a little bit before the break. We're jumping ahead on the piece here, which is it's fine though. We'll stay on
We'll go back and
on
forth.
topic here.
It's all
I just
good. I
want to
mean,
be
people.
clear. Earlier you were talking to me about your pieces, and I love that I've seen this in your work since I seen your work when I was way young. Homie wants to see the shift again. Can you show him the shift?
Yeah. Back to the gray or from?
Just both. He wants to see gray to purple. He wants to see the shift. It's pastel potion is what we're looking at. Look how gray that is, y'all. It's gray. It's literally gray. Holy shit, man. And then there's the purple. Wow. And do you sleeve your color or do you use raw color usually?
I sleeve, but not by much.
No, I mean you
So
don't. There's no argument here on how much you're sleeving. No one cares on that. The reason why I ask, there's no bad side to cutting color. What I'm wondering is,
I don't think so. I think that for me, I try to do my best to really make sure that it still shows the true color.
sure,
Occasionally, sometimes I'll get a little bit more washed out than I'd like, but
that
it's
looks
not.
very saturated.
And that's what I go for. As long as I can keep saturation, I've actually had a struggle. Like, me and Chad have gone back and forth about the mixed levels, essentially about how much clear to color size wise for the sleeves and stuff. I don't mean to be defensive about it. I do worry because I know some people might consider that to be not necessarily full color, but to me, like, I'm putting in extra time to make that sleeve, and I like the glossness that it gets from the clear over the color.
We all do.
So depending on the color, I think it adds a little. It definitely
Dude,
adds
it's like if my argument is if someone bought a car and they never got the clear coat done, you would be like, yo, that thing's not finished, right?
Unless you wanted a matte coat.
Yeah, dude.
And
but
then, I mean, and you know what? Look, there's some colors need to be unsleeved. Like they almost work better. But
yes,
like
North Star yellow.
Well, North Star, yeah. I actually have a tube right here of it that I would never sleeve that color. Because you need to be able to strike it. So strikeys especially. But I actually found it was interesting as I know somebody who does they sleeve the color over clear.
Yeah, so Kyle does that. Solo does that too.
I know somebody else too, and it gives it just that little bit of extra meat, and it also gives it a little stretch so you can get like a different tone of colors out of it. Like all of these things are glass blowing methods that, as far as I'm concerned, like it's a tech, man. Like,
yeah, bro.
That's all about like understanding how to adjust the medium you're working in to create a different effect. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. So like, I don't, and it's funny. Like I've had many conversations with people that like glass blowers because not everybody feels the same way. I know like the guy I originally learned from did not at all. He's very much like I don't want to say he's against it, but like there were some very spirited arguments or spirited discussions, I'll say, back and forth about that in the beginning. And this is even before I was like when I was just playing around. This was about other people's work, and we were talking about the industry and stuff like that. So I know that a lot of like it's a lot of the OGs and guys who have been around for a long time.
In the Boro world.
Yes, in the Boro world, they see it very differently, and I don't knock it at all, man. I have a lot of respect for the guys who have paved the way. I think that they are, man. I mean, fuck, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't. None of us would be here doing what we're doing.
No, but they're sure, but that opinion does not affect why we're here. Hopefully, they start listening.
No. What it is, it's an evolution. It's an evolution of how things are done, and like, because just like any other medium, people learn different ways to do it, and they also learn things that aren't necessarily great. So it depends on you have to be able to look at what you're doing when you're learning something and say, all right, well, this isn't quite what I was going for, or this is exactly what I was going for, and be able to be able to differentiate and say, I don't want to use this because this isn't quite what I'm quite up to par, but vice versa. So it's been an interesting experimentation to find that mix on colors and stuff like that and making things work the way that I want them to.
They look great.
I appreciate that, dude. Like I've got, I can spin this around real quick, but like,
yeah, show us your. Oh yeah, bro, there you go. It looks great, and your dichro looks awesome, huh? Do you buy that or you make that?
There is sleeve. Like all of those things have sleeves on them for the most part.
Do you make the dichro or do you buy it?
When you make the dichro?
Like, do you make tubing, dichro tubing, or do you buy dichro tubing?
All right. So the dichro tubing, both.
I buy it too.
What's that?
We all buy it. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I do. Of course.
I just want to know if you also are like some secret dichro baller.
You know about Gordy's dichro? You know about him?
Gordy.
Gordy's dichro. That's what I get. That purple.
There's the plug.
Look at this.
What's his Instagram?
Gordy. Gordy apostrophe S.
There's
dichro.
So many young glass blowers in this feed that hang out in this chat that love dichro and would love to buy some of this, I'm sure.
I probably shouldn't say it because I won't be able to buy it when I need it. His drops will go faster. But
it looks great, bro.
There we go. That's a better angle.
Love that purple. What is that, like a starship? Is that what they call that, starship?
I'm not sure what the name. I think it was just magenta.
Magenta.
Or I think it's magenta. But there's no, like, he doesn't have a lot of lines in it or anything. It comes out really crispy, So I've definitely done my own back specs with dichro as well. I've done a couple different types. I actually have one pull that's like an OG. I have never actually used this pull, so I'll show you this.
I sleeve heavy, bro. I love sleeve. I sleeve with 50 by 5 usually.
You sleeve color with 50 by 5?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, how thick is your color, like your blank? Like how
Usually
thick is your
paper
roll?
thin.
Really?
Oh, hell
Well,
yeah.
all right. Well, would you? I mean, and even for transparent colors, the same
I'm
thing?
I'm a firm believer. I blow glass. Like I build my concepts around traditional glass blowing skills. And I'm a firm believer in furnace working, taking a chunk of concentrated color and doing like dips and building clear up around it. So I see that transition in Boro where if you have like a blowout and you can just get those big thick layers of clear, you're really magnifying the optical
Yeah,
beauty
I
of those
actually
colors,
some of the
bro.
slides that I've done, even like the dark the opaque colors, like the blues and stuff like that. Any of the cadmiums, whenever I do those, like I can usually sleeve them. Like I'll usually sleeve them 3 or 4 times to
Yeah.
get to like different layers of color. Like the first time you do it, it's still really thick. The next time you layer it down, it's a
Oh,
little
you're
thinner. You
saying
can
you do
kind of thin right
multiple
through it.
sleeves. I get what you're saying. I've
Yeah,
done
and
that
like I've done
before.
it. Sometimes I'll even go up to a 50 by 5 or whatever on those colors, but other colors, like anything transparent, so like brilliant blue is the only one because it's really really thick. So sometimes I'll do a little extra clear on it, but like most of the transparents, I do a very thin layer just to kind of protect the color,
Sure.
so that I still get the vibrance of everything, and it gets a little magnification like you're talking about, but it also kind of like it just protects it from when I can rage the hell out of it as opposed to like some of the, like citrine or lemon drop or lime drop, the ones that boil really easily if you're not careful about how you're applying heat. Once that clears on there, you can rage it like
Oh
nothing else
yeah,
and
for sure, for sure, for sure.
work it like nothing.
I
You know,
used
and
to sleeve 38 medium.
works. You know, and
That's what I
I can
used to.
certainly.
I'm saying I used to go way thin, and then I started to go. What hit me was is that my friends were making vac stack tubing, and I was too, but we were using straight colored vac stack tubing, and I was like, holy shit, this is sleeved with like 50 or 75 or whatever. That's
You're still getting the effect you want.
yeah. I was like, it looks beautiful. Why don't we just do this with a blowout and see what the hell happens? And then we did that, and
It was fine. Well, as
we
long as your
love it.
blowout, like so, what I
But
did. So what's interesting is when I first started doing blowouts, what I was doing is I was sleeving before I blow it out,
yeah,
and
me too. I do that. No, I do that too. I actually Chad Lacey is who showed me that originally, but he
it's funny.
but
It's
bro,
funny.
he showed me it's funny. He showed us that with like Cad Orange. And then we were in Vegas like last year. When you scooped that pendant, we were in Vegas and we were partying or something, and I walked up to him and I was like, "Bro, I've been doing that with all my colors." And he laughed and he was like, "Hell yeah, bro. I bet your colors look great." And I was like, "No, I'm telling you like all of them." And he was like, "What do you mean?" He didn't know what I was saying at first. He thought I was saying like all my sketchy colors. But I'm just doing it with everything.
You know,
I
all right.
draw with 7 mil. I don't sleeve with a tubing though.
Okay. Okay. So you're coding. All right.
I
That's
for
what.
some reason think that when you coat it with the 7, you're laying like a memory into the glass that's good because you're laying vertical lines.
Okay. Well, cause it's kind of like when you stretch.
Yeah,
That
dude.
kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I'm crazy. I'm
I can
crazy.
see. I can see as long as as long as your striping is good.
Yes.
Yes, I can appreciate that. Um,
And then
that line of
yo,
stuff.
do you also like that when you shove the tungsten through? Think about this: when you shove the tungsten through, you're shoving a little clear up in there too.
Well, I actually don't use tungsten, but yes, I do. I do remember that.
I
I
love
use
that.
graphite.
Love that.
I use my graphite to do it, but at the
Sure.
same time, like you're yes, all right. So back to that, me and Chad were back and forth about that because I had made tubing for us to do the first piston whale, and he tried to use my
Sick piece,
tubing, and
bro.
I appreciate that, and
Sick
we worked
piece. I wish
we
you could
worked
show a
really hard
picture
on
of it
that.
right now.
Oh yeah, go for it, please.
I
Yeah,
can't. I
actually,
don't know how to.
oh, I mean, I guess I could probably pull one up on my phone
Go
here.
look at this guy's Instagram. He did a sweet ass whale with the piston, and you almost need to show your pendant
We
off
made
so
two
they
of them.
can know what you're
We brought
talking
two
about.
of them too. Well, we did two. We did the first one was
I saw the one with your pendies on it.
well, we had here. Hang on, I'll show you. This was the second. All right, the first one was the blue one.
Sorry to go way deep into glass already, but Jesus, dude.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mind this is natural, dude. We're just talking.
You're super into
Um,
tech, and I know you like tech. Show it on the camera. You got to point it right to the camera.
oh yeah, that doesn't really help.
Yeah, that's the one I saw. That one is sweet, bro. That's the recycler actually up on there.
Yeah.
Damn, that
So
is
that
so
was
sick.
what was interesting is like that one we used his tubing for. But the blue I think it was no, it was that was the second one we had trouble with. That one we used he had tubing for that one. This one, the second one, which was the telemagenta and pastel potion.
Love it.
Um,
Oh yeah, there. Wait, go back, go back. It was just freeze. Oh, it was just holding. Hold on. Yeah, stay right there for a second. There it is. Stay there. Okay.
The
You're good.
light's kind of fucking it up. But so yeah, the telemagenta tubing, I made it, and he tried to use some of it for something I ordered. It was the pastel potion tubing he tried to use, and he noticed something that was kind of funky about how it was moving, and I started seeing like some trouble because what was happening is like certain colors I was only sleeving before blowing it out, and then I wasn't re-sleeving it again. And what was happening because it was such a thin sleeve of clear over a lot of color before the blowout, I was getting spots where it was like what he called it was the clear was reaching like terminal thickness, I believe he called it, and it's basically where it was like splitting on the surface of the glass and getting spots that were still covered with clear and spots that weren't because it was so thin to ratio of the color that it would move weird. Like he went to make something and
Wild.
it out kind of sideways, and it was my no, it was tubing that I made, so it was something in the calculations that I was messing up, and we had to go back and forth on it. And like I came home and I'm like, I was perturbed. I was like, this is not cool. I was like, if I can't make prep that somebody else can use, like that's a problem. I have to be able to make something that anybody can pick up and be like, wow, this is decent. This is like buying it because, and that's to me is one of the staples of good glass blower. You should be able to make prep.
I think it's the key, bro.
Well, it is, and I mean, it's not important to learn that, but it's a
Yes,
really
it
good,
is.
not initially. What I say is that it is initially, but it's a stepping stone point. Like you can buy tubing to learn if you to and use stuff that people buy, but if you can't make it up by yourself, like you're not really doing the job. You should be able to make anything that you can buy. You should theoretically be able to make yourself. Doesn't
Real
mean you
quick, not
always.
to interrupt you, not to interrupt you. Keep your thought process. Do you not remember when we first started? There was no color tubing, just China tubing, obviously, and then there was like a 2-year period where everyone was making tubing, and right now there's no tubing.
You can't find.
What the
Like
fuck?
there's very
What?
little. I don't know why that has transpired.
Well, I
Quite
think
literally.
and now they're trying to sell those fat rods, but I don't get it, dude. Why don't they just sell
Well,
us
no,
tubing?
no, that I'm all about. I actually, the worst part is I had like 2.5 pounds of the most recent drop in my cart on North Star or on Abe's site, and I was like, I'm looking at other things for a minute, and I was like, I debated for a couple of minutes, and then when I went back to actually like pull the trigger, it had already been sold.
No.
But my blowouts are that thick anyway. Generally speaking, I like put together 2 to 3 sticks at least.
Yeah,
Two to
three
three sticks.
sticks.
And so like I'm chunk, you're talking about a chunk that big. If I can buy a chunk of the color that I want and just chop it and save the time of stick after stick after stick after stick, and then still be able to make my own tubing that has my clear coat on it, I'm about that. Like it saves time.
Sure.
So I'm all for him continuing to do that. The only downside is you have to buy like 2.5 pounds of color to get a rod. And like it's a good chunk of color. You'll have it for a while, but you better make a lot of pieces with that color.
So
You
yeah,
can buy a little.
I hired a kid. I hired a homie, Tyler. I don't know if he's watching this right now. I hired a homie who literally I pay to wad up 3 to 4 sticks of color for me at a time, and he gets paid per wad.
If I had the extra bench space, that would be a really great idea. And I
To
mean,
all the new glass blowers, bro.
I've actually had a couple people that have hit me up randomly about potentially wanting to be an apprentice or not apprentice.
Yeah,
But like
well, no,
learn.
that's the classic thing. It's like,
Whatever,
bro, you blow glass. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm very, I'm obviously talking, I'm comfortable talking with people and everything else, but at the same time, I also tend to be more of a hermit. And I'm
Sure.
very introverted most days. So, like most introverts, I tend to, when I do come out of my shell and talk like this, it'll take a little bit for me to be like, all right, I gotta step back from everybody for a minute. Not badly, I am very comfortable being, solo, like doing my thing, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's me. And like a lot of I know that a lot of artists are kind of in that realm in that sense. Tend to be like you kind of have to focus in on what you're doing.
Yeah, bro, for sure.
It's a wild process, but what can I say? I definitely it's been a wild ride, but
You
yeah, we
started.
can get
You
back to
started in 2000. We were. Well, I'm trying to stay on topic here, and we've gotten so all over the map here.
we can go back to the timeline factor. So
2012, you started blowing glass.
yeah, so I had been obviously I had been working for Marley's for a while at that point. Um, it had been years since I had even considered blowing glass, but at the same time, I was working at the store for so long, and I was like every day I would be there for hours. I worked for a long time at the store, so like I would study everybody else's work essentially. Like being down here in Florida, there's not, especially at that time in the beginning of it, before even a lot of the hypey things started happening. Like I didn't have other glass blowers to talk to at the time, so a lot of my information was like you say, dissecting something. A lot of what I learned in the beginning was looking what everybody else was doing in the industry and thinking about how they might be achieving that. So like even wigwags, I understood relatively how they were done beforehand, but I never watched anybody or anything else. So before I'd even like blown glass, I had an inkling, and I was interested in it, but more so from a like sales perspective because I wanted to be able to, as my buddies, worked at his store, one of his managers, I knew that I had to be able to explain what it was that was in the store to people well. So I made it my point to learn as much as I could about what people were doing and what they were creating, and at the same time, like I said, I was just looking at it and studying. So there's several artists that we'd get in the store that I mean, like my recyclers, and I've talked to Nick about this Robin Hood.
Love
We get
Robin
Robin Hood.
Hood, bro.
Nick is fucking. He was
His
actually the
name
first
is
demo.
Nick.
Yeah, his name is
My
Nick.
God, there's so many fucking Nicks in this industry.
There's a few of us.
My
Robin
God.
Hood is he's an awesome person. He came down. He was actually Marley's first demo, which I can get to in a minute. But
What did you like about his work?
the function is amazing. And
Okay.
his line of his lineage, I guess you could say, and like is Quave. Like he learned from J Red and Quave and all those guys out there in Washington. Like he's so like he even like when we talk, like I didn't directly talk to him about it initially because like I said, I've gone down here. So yet again, we're gonna get into a topic of biting. Is what you could say. Like I've always tried to stay away from directly biting people, but at the same time, because I've been influenced by so many different artists,
Contemporary pipe making.
it has kind of it spills into it. So I try to make sure I'm not making something exactly like somebody else's, but sometimes things do fall a little bit too close.
Yo, I don't want to. Hold your thought. Hold your thought. What you're saying, biting. What you're actually saying though, and I just want to be clear here. What you're saying is that these people are calling it biting, but it just is so fresh in time that these texts are being publicly evaluated that really what they're doing, the people that are coming up with them and putting them out there, they're creating like industry standards, and it's just so early right now to where all they can do is say you're biting, but really you're just complimenting an industry standard.
Sure, and well, like that's the other piece I was going to bring out is like this one is one of my toucan recyclers, which I've been making these things for years. I don't advertise them like crazy because it's not an original design.
I feel like I've seen this before from you.
Oh, I posted them, and like I've made collabs with them. I've done like centerline, whatchamacallit, perks in there, but I call it an OG toucan recycler because this is
The industry standard.
Exactly right. I'm not the only. Like, I was not the only person who was making a toucan recycler at the time because that became the thing.
Oh, toucan, like two cans. Duh.
OG toucan recycler, like EA would be the best.
Well,
like,
I mean, yeah, there's like 100 fucking million people that make that now.
The recycler line goes ham, sans, to the best of my knowledge.
I think Basso's somewhere in the first 5.
Well, but the very first line is ham to Sam Smith, who shrunk the ham design a little bit and did his own thing with it, and then EA made the toucan recycler. EA did and his recycler was basically like what.
Sure, it's the classic EA recycler, bro.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is you being called a biter is the same way someone would call anybody that puts their sculpted character with a beaker under it a biter of AKM.
Sure, and listen,
it's just a fucking jammer.
Nobody calls me. I thankfully, at least nobody has ever come up with me like, bro, you're a fucking biter. Da, da, da. I've one other glassblower who I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but he was a friend. He's a friend, and we had a disagreement on something that he felt I was, and I've never made them again. It was a basic clear piece, but out of respect, I've tried to be very.
I think it's common in Florida. I think it's common in Florida to say you're a biter. Like that's a thing.
What's that?
In Florida, I think it's common. Like it's like saying you're fat to people. It's like saying you're a biter in Florida.
Is a little bit different than some of the other places. I've noticed, like when I went on that trip 4 years ago, which I'll get to that too. I noticed that was a very eye-opening experience for how people kind of look at the industry in different pockets and places.
Nobody in Colorado says you're a biter for making industry standard shit.
Well, listen, like there's a number of different texts that have come from Colorado that like once it's come out, everybody kind of like rolls with it because it's like, oh, it's something new that I can try and play with, which makes sense to me. And most of the people I've talked to generally are just on the same page about this. So like when I say biter, like I say that because like with quotations for a reason, because there are certain people that might feel that way, and they're fine, they're entitled to their opinion. I disagree. Everything I've ever done has been tried to be just my own interpretation of what's out there.
You're taking an industry standard of a blank canvas and you're laying your fucking work into a blank canvas, dude.
Yeah, making it mine.
That's what pipe making, being a pipe, I told my homie this that works with me the other day, being a pipe maker, like if I am a pipe maker. I make pipes, yeah, sometimes, but I'm not. I'm like a brand runner, and I fulfill it with the creative vision of my character, where I'm telling you are more of the lines of a pipe maker. You genuinely are attracted to the schematic and the building process of making functional designed glass, and then you enjoy using it as a canvas to implement whatever your creative vision is on top of that.
Yeah.
A pipe maker has to be a pipe maker, you got to nail the standards of making the fucking pipe first.
You got to be able to make a spoon pipe. You got to be able to make a bubbler. You got to be able to make a freaking push.
The recycler is in there now. It's like that was, and so it's just
two-can recycler, like being able to do the blowout seal and the bend and everything.
Yes.
All the technique that goes along with creating that item is learnable skill that you can then translate into something further when you move on to bigger items and things that you then are like, oh, I've got my idea now.
Yeah. That's actually your design within a traditional design. And
now here's the thing. I have seen things in people out there that have done, I don't want to say that's the same by any stretch, because I've never seen anybody try a piston. And you know what? I don't mind. Anybody wants to try it.
Can you show the piston up close? What the hell's going on?
All right. So this is mine.
It's a perk, right? It's a perk sticking up in there?
Yeah. Basically, imagine a perk. Oh, whoops, sorry. I keep trying to show like the freaking video screen and not the camera. Imagine an inline. That's what that is. It's an inline, and then the drain connects to here. The drain connects to both spots and runs through the donut. And this is a dry section on the bottom. Smoke goes up through.
Okay. So those hold the water. Those hold the water.
Comes through. There you go.
Sweet.
So, look, I don't mind anybody trying them. Tag me in it if you try.
Yeah, but then at that point they are somewhat biting, because now you've really like worked it down.
Well, yes, and what I say is, if you want to try it and make it, like, be my guest.
They're just adding more crown to you, bro.
Creating that and use it in whatever you create.
Sure.
So like, I think, and I can't say this for sure, like Richie Gage Glass, me and him follow each other. He's I don't know if you follow him at all.
No.
Yeah, he's I've never met him personally, but I like his work, and vice versa. Like, he's always liked mine, and I think I always wanted to ask him, because I think that I might have partially inspired. Like, he does some angled perk deals on one of his recyclers, and like when he first did it, I was like, that's kind of similar to something like kind of my piston. Like, it's not my piston, but it almost like I feel like maybe he took something from looking at my picture and like ran with it in his mind. And I'd love to find that out, that that's what actually happened, because like I think it's awesome. There's other people, like I showed Christian Merwin. I was walking around one of the trade shows, like I didn't have a boot, but I had a couple of my piston recycler peak attachments in my backpack. I was walking around and I showed Merwin, and like he saw it, and like he wound up going home and making a freaking engine with like similar, but like he took it and went crazy, and like it was him and like Emily did it.
He's a wild guy, bro.
He's an interesting character. I have a couple of his pieces. Like, I have a warthog pipe from them that Emily might have made. I have a goddess pendant that I bought from them at one point that's in like my collection. Like, I'm a fan of his work. I really am. So it's all. I say all these things in a positive light. Like, I look at all these people and I'm like, I don't want to say I'm looking up to, but I now especially I feel like I'm almost starting to like look with them, with all of it.
Do you think it's age or experience or?
Experience, 100%. Listen, man, there's guys who are 21 years old who are better glass blowers than I am, hands down. Because they have a gift and they've worked their tail off every hour that they had and they've gotten there. There's also guys who have been in this for twice as long as I have that can't even conceptualize anything of what I'm doing.
I agree.
And I know people like that. I know people who are very dead set in their ways because they've been in it for so long.
They don't sleeve color.
No, like there's
It's the same guys.
And you know what? Listen, man, I don't begrudge anybody for their opinion. You're welcome to it. I can't, because I have my opinions, and I don't want you begrudging me for them, I guess you could say. At the same time, you can't please everybody, and you're not going to be everybody's friend. So, like, what are you going to do? Like, I do the best I can to present myself.
Good call.
In a good way, and whenever asked, I explain exactly that. It's like,
hell yeah, bro. That's a good way to be.
I try.
sorry to get you all spun out there. Robin Hood. We were on Robin Hood, bro. And the Marley show. Marley, he came through into the show on Marley's. I kind of remember this.
Yeah, he came down. It was actually Marley's first demo, and it was at Great Scott Studio. It was right after I had been working at cause like that was where I started working at. And I told you about that. We kind of skipped
Oh,
around.
is that the studio where Elbow and Snick also did a demo?
Was that
It
no?
was in like a
That's not
warehouse.
Marley.
It was like in a warehouse unit.
Yeah, that was not at that was not there. No,
Okay,
that
okay,
was
okay.
at
Go on, go on.
The Marley's demos were a kind of there was an evolution of things that happened with that, and we can get to that. The
God,
very first
pre-COVID was fun.
it was we had a great time. It was especially in the beginning of all of this stuff. It was really
It was like
in the
unsanctioned. People were like, "Let's get together in so and so's garage and see how many people we could shove in there."
well, that's the Robin Hood demo was exactly that. Um,
Sweet.
so, all right. So back to where I started. I started working. I was working at Marley's, and I wound up working at Great Scott Glass. Came in. He was a friend of Joe's, and we had he tried for about 4 or 5 months. He's like, dude, you got to come over and work. You got to come over and work. You got to try blow glass. And I was like,
Scott Rosenberg.
I had almost said in my mind I wasn't going to do it. And this is like 2012 or whatever. We're getting back to that point.
Scott Rosenberg.
Yeah, Scott Rosenberg. Yeah. It was 2012 or somewhere in that ballpark.
And he sells Millie. He doesn't really make it.
He does both.
Okay.
He definitely sells more Millie than he makes it. Although at the same time, like I've seen, he's made some like the Yoshi coin pull, I believe.
He made a pencil that was really cool.
Yeah, and like listen, Scott's a character. He's a good guy, and he did a lot for me in the beginning there, and I have to give it credit where credit's due that way. Like we had a very in the beginning especially, he was really excited to have me there, and the way that we kind of like lined up the teaching thing was I learned a lot about what I would say is like how I probably would not necessarily set up with somebody who I was teaching. We didn't have a lot of clearly defined lines, so he had his idea of what was happening, and I had my idea of what was happening. And at first, I really had no interest. I didn't expect to be a glassblower. I went into that simply as a not even as a hobby, but just have fun. Like, I was paying him to go down there and mess around, like just to like go to his studio.
You paid him.
Play. Like, oh yeah, I paid him initially
Wow.
hourly for months and months and months and months. I spent a lot of money for him, like, cause I paid for his oxygen. He wasn't teaching me. I was renting time on his torch, essentially, is what it kind of came down to. Because he was working and he was doing his thing, and we'd just both be there, and I would pay for essentially oxygen for me to work. Now, the rate and all that, I'm not going to get into that because that's not. It's neither here nor there. But we had disagreements toward the end, unfortunately, and I wound up getting my own setup and everything else. So before that happened, Robin Hood demo was at his shop. It was the first demo. Like I was just getting started with what I was doing. I was starting to make some things, and I was so noob. It was not even funny. Like the questions I asked were just terrible, but it was what it was. And on top of that, being a noob that had no there wasn't what it is now, where you can learn a lot of the stuff on Instagram or wherever else from like other people in conversations. Like it was the very beginning down here. Like we didn't know a lot. I didn't even know about a water tink bucket for glass blowing at that point. Like to give you an idea of like the level of understanding of what we were doing in that shop. And he knew about it. He just didn't like. He had his opinions on it. Another point. But the Robin Hood demo came down. And we cleaned his whole studio and we did everything. I watched Nick do, or make a recycler, and he was so fluid with his motions and how he manages to do a lot of the moves he was doing, and especially at the time, like it was so far beyond my grasp of how to even spin glass. So my very first recyclers were obviously in some ways enamored by people like him, who I thought were like, how do you do that? And I got there, like I kind of I started building things that were at least certain aesthetics, like even my top cans now, this wide top can that I use is very similar. It goes back to Quave. Like I said, like Quave uses something similar. Nick used his version of it. I've taken it and and I didn't even have permission or anything else. This was just sight seen and tried. So, and I've talked to Nick since about it, and I've thanked him for being that much of an inspiration to me. And unfortunately, we haven't had the chance to really sit down and talk. But I was like at one of the trade shows, and we were running by each other, and I was like, "Bro, Nick, what's up?" And like, I kind of got out like half a sentence to him about it, and he was thankful, and we appreciate. Like, we just didn't get the chance to sit down, and I want to sit down and smoke with him, talk with him, because I wanted to tell him the same things I'm telling you now. That he's one of those people who definitely influenced what I was doing.
I always loved his flat cane.
His flat cane, oh bro.
God, he had some of the best flat cane in the game.
So freaking good at it, dude, and he makes like big. like when I make my flat cane, like I do chip weaves now and stuff like that. Like sometimes I'm like when I start pulling one down and I'm like I smirk in my head like I'm doing Nick did. Like it's bro, he
His
is
flat cane is
amazing
so
at
good.
it. Like he's golden and it just what a talent that guy is. So it was cool to have inspirations like that come through and I got to watch them firsthand. Like that was the first time I'd ever seen anybody who like was able on that level. So after that, there was Borough Farm was the next demo that Marley's did, and that was not at Scott's studio. That was at a different studio. That wasn't even at a studio. It was actually he rented. Joe paid for. He paid one of the customers had a boat warehouse that they were building boats out of that they basically cleared out, and we put out rows of seats, and it was this big freaking demo, and it was really good. The Borough Farm demo was awesome, and that was the first time I watched Mac, who Max Glass. I'm not sure you
And
know about him.
I don't want to like go too far into them, but Borough Farm is a group of artists that make really really clean as fuck American production work, and they do it at such high fast speeds because there's a bunch of guys doing it, right?
There were, at this point,
This was in 2013. I'm saying when they were hot.
yeah, well, there were three at the time. There were three people. There was Craig, Herb, and Mac. Mac was
Herb,
the
is that Herb Carson or Herb Sizzler?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good dude.
Herb is the man.
He's just great at glass blowing.
He is.
He's got like that Fat Mike vibe.
Yeah. He's not doing it. He's not working in glass anymore, unfortunately.
He doesn't blow glass anymore. Okay, but what I'm saying is his that doesn't that's
not professionally to the best of my knowledge. But
his glass though, line work wise, is very much like that though.
He's dude. When you want to talk about a gifted, amazing, talented person, that dude is wow. Like to watch him be able to create some of the wigwags that he was able to, like the line work that he was just
clean.
Pull off, the way that his mind works on it is like Herb's on a different level, man. Like
and he's got really great color palettes. He did the color palette.
Yeah, a lot of that was him and Craig. Both of them are together on that. But he also worked for at one point he used to work for North Star. So like he used to pull color with Abe and all those guys over there. So like he had a very good understanding, or he has a very good understanding of the material and like all the chemicals and all the shit behind it. So Herb's a very very talented dude that way, and Craig's a hell of a lathe. Like a lot of the lathe stuff is Craig, and that was their combination. Like
Craig what?
Craig Hansen.
He doesn't have a glass name.
He does. Well, he is Borough Farm at this point.
Okay.
Craig. I don't know if I would assume he probably has somebody else working with him at this point, or an apprentice wise. I'm not sure if he does or not. Like again, another person I need to catch up with. I've been very much hermiting, but Craig is Borough Farm, to the best of my knowledge. He's another.
How many guys when they first came out there? How many guys were there?
Here there were three, and there was Craig, Kerr, and Mac. Mac was doing a bunch of the wigwags for them, and like he did a bunch of the slides that were made at the show. Like he did a bunch of custom requests, and like when I get back to what I was talking about the line work, when I watched Mac, that was the first time I'd ever actually watched somebody make a wigwag. Like I knew how it was done, and I had tried and failed numerous times, but he sat there and broke it down for me, and like he knew I was a glass blower, or he knew I was learning, and we had a great conversation. We're still friends to this day. Like I've done collabs with him at this point.
I remember seeing them.
Yeah, Max. I love Max. Max, another one. I love those guys. Those guys are all awesome people.
You were out there.
I was.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get there. But Mac is one of those dudes who I watched him make the wigwag, and the way he showed me how to condense it and the concept of it, and that kind of gave me a good boost from there. Later on, I learned from Levi Carter, who you know. Levi gave me like a breakdown again, and like I was able to take my wigwags up to another level because Levi was just like Levi is a hell of a fucking gifted wigwag artist. So I know I keep jumping around to people, but like to me, a lot of who I am comes from the people who have influenced what I do. So I like to give credit where credit's due. You know, like a lot of
I'm the same way.
Like, at the same time, like all these people who have helped me learn everything that I've learned. You know, I didn't go to school for this stuff, so the best thing I can do is be my friends' promoters. You know, I guess you could say.
Yeah, dude.
But anyway, so Craig and the guys were there, and they made a bunch of stuff for a bunch of people, and it was an amazing. It was a really great time. Everybody had great vibes. The next show after that was the blueberry cowboy and Royals demo, and that demo I unfortunately was working at Marley's. We had to trade off people. Some people had to work. Obviously, we all worked at the shop, so somebody had to keep the shop open while the demo's going on. It's off site. So I missed the first night of the demo, and there wasn't unfortunately a second night of that demo because some things happened between, yeah, drama. But I'm not gonna get into that craziness. What wound up going down is unfortunately there wasn't a second night, and after that, Joe decided that he wanted to try to find a warehouse space to be able to have or have demos, and at the same time, like I was looking for a place to work, so we, worked it out together. Me, him, my buddy Timmy, who was Clutch or is Clutch Glassworks. He doesn't really blow glass at this point, but he does as a hobby these days. And then Dustin Hacking, Starsky Blow Glass, and his brother Jason, and then my buddy Evan Slevin came in. Like we had a whole bunch of people at the Marley studio. That was Swamp Glass Studio or Swamp House.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no. And this was the one in
And that
the.
was where the elbow, and that was where elbow and which one?
Okay, that was your first studio.
That was our first studio. That was
Fuck,
our
dude.
aside from the space that I'm even back in now. Because I've gone to other places and done other things, and I keep. Thankfully, I have this. My folks to be able to come back and work at. But yes, that was the first like studio space we built out.
I was impressed with your work back then, bro.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That you were the best one in that shop. No offense to the rest of the guys.
You know what?
And Slevin and Clutch. Those two guys too. I remember.
Yeah, well, listen, man. Clutch, dude, Timmy had some really Timmy was very talented in his own right. He just didn't put a lot of time into it. But I appreciate that compliment. the other guys, everybody in that shop had a talent in their own right.
That kid Evan moved out here. He lives near me.
Yeah, he works at which one? What's the quartz company he works for? Oh my goodness.
Does he work for Joel Halen?
I think he works for Eternal. Is it Eternal?
Oh, he works down in Denver for that quartz shop.
He makes quartz. Like that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, there's a couple quartz shops in Denver, and then there's one near me up north.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which one. It might not be Eternal, but it's one of the quartz shops. And
sure, there's another one. I think Gordo's is a quartz shop too.
It's not him. I believe I want to say it's
the Eternal one is. There's some other kid in there. Harley, I think is his name.
I'm drawing a blank as to which.
No, but that's cool.
God damn it! I know you make quartz.
So you guys were all in a shop together, though.
Yeah, we had a good studio there, man. Like it was definitely
2014, 2015, 2014,
2015-ish. Yeah, something that. Yeah, it was like 14, 15, somewhere. Yeah, that sounds about right, honestly. And that was around for like 2 years, somewhere.
And you guys more or less did your own work out of there and just paid rent to Joe.
Yes.
Sweet. That's a great way to be, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Early on.
What I can say to anybody who's considering opening up a shop like that, if anybody's like listening to this and wants to know about that, make sure you have a designated shop manager that has the ability to essentially have the ability to kick people out. Because you need that. You need somebody who has control to be able to say when fights or whenever.
Besides Joe.
Joe had a lot on his plate with Marley's.
Yes, of course.
Joe, when it came down to the studio, like he just didn't have the time, and anything that came up, like it wasn't. We all didn't necessarily see eye to eye at times, and there were a lot of things that went on in that studio. So like we all were able to make work and everything else, but unfortunately, like it just like a lot of things when a group of people get together, it didn't work out in the end. So after that was a couple of years we were there. We had a few demos and stuff like that. But like as Evan left and everybody started leaving, there was only like 3 of us in there at one point, and like it wasn't enough to cover the rent of the place and everything. So we just kind of had to, call it quits at that place. Joe was even willing to continue in a certain respect, but he asked me, and I told him no. I said that it was time, to move on.
And you're in your early 30s at this point, so you're probably thinking to yourself, Jesus, dude, I need to get my shit together and fuck these guys, man. I'm doing my own thing.
Pretty much. I mean,
so is that when you picked up and went with Boro Farm? Is that what happened there?
Well, no, it was a little while after that. I moved back in here to the studio.
Do you remember? Do you remember when there was like Wonderland demos? That was like right at that same time period, and I remember there was
like a Marley's demo in the next week. Or
Exactly. There was a time period there where you didn't work at Marley's, but you fucked with like Rusty in them, didn't you?
Well, no, I worked at Marley's. I worked at Marley's for the majority of the time. I think actually there's periods of time I stopped at a certain point, but yes, I definitely like Rust. I've worked with Rusty a few times. He's in Orlando.
I thought there was at some point there where you were in a shop, but it was not a group studio. You were in like one other shop with one other dude or something. Maybe it was Boro Farm.
Yeah, no. After that's the thing is, man. After that, after everything shut down over there, I came over here. there wasn't anybody else's shop I worked in because I was just working here, and I stayed here. I was here for a while. I made some money. I did a couple of orders, knocked some stuff out, and then I went on the road for that 4 months, whatever, that summer, because I didn't want to work through the summertime here again.
But is that when you went to Oregon?
That's when I took off to Oregon. It was like 2000. Okay. It was 4 years ago now, so I mean that's 2016.
2016, 2017. I feel like I remember seeing you working with someone, but I guess it would have been like Urban them at Boro.
Yeah, because that's the trip I went on, man. Like I came back after the Marley studio. I came back to the garage shop for a minute, and I was here for a bit. And it's like I said, thankfully I've always had this place to kind of fall back on if need be. But it's I went out on a trip, and that was more of I was thinking about moving. I still am. I still consider it. It was more about seeing the country and getting out of here.
Hell yeah.
Just seeing more of.
You drove.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
fuck yeah.
In Colorado, I had friends. My friend was living in North Carolina at the time, so I stayed there for a few days, and like I went and I did a full road trip out of it. I even went to New York at one point. Like
that's so cool, bro.
It was. I needed to go, so like I left, and I had no end date on it, basically. And I worked at a few different places along the way. I did some work in Colorado with Scott Ratner. Me and him are good buddies. We've done a few different collabs together. He let me stay. He was so gracious. He let me stay at his house, and everything was really awesome.
That's so cool that Glass has given you the opportunity to be really, really responsible and be in a group where you have to like be responsible with a group, and it's also given you the opportunity to be as least responsible as you want to be.
Exactly. That's that's the thing. It's like there's.
I've always been responsible in my Glass, but that's just because I survived on it. But you at a point also took off. You survived on it, but you took off in a way where you were like, let's see what the fuck's gonna happen. Is what it sounds like.
Basically,
that's awesome.
I came out because I wanted to see what Oregon was all about. Like I have, like I said, Boro Farm. I have all the Boro Farm family at the time, especially. Like we had, I was there for this. Like I was there for the majority of the summer. I got out to Oregon, and I was there for I stayed there for like 2 months. When I first got there, it was like right at DFO, and I went to DFO, and then
that was the first time you had been out there.
Oh yeah.
Very cool experience as a glassblower.
What's that?
I bet it was an amazing experience as a glassblower to be that your first time.
Well, dude,
you probably thought you were cooler than everybody else in Florida at the time.
At the time, especially, it was so fulfilling as a person, as a glassblower, and in all aspects, to be there and see, the whole thing, like, or to see how that people live out there and where.
Dude, that time period, it was the dream to be out there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, like, these days, it's like everything. It's like everything. Everything's dynamic these days. But yes, even like, and people at that time were saying that it's not like what it was 10 years ago. It's like, man, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. This is great. Like, I had an amazing time. We went to the rivers. We went to up into the freaking mountains to the hot springs, and like, I experienced Oregon.
Yeah, bro. Looking back at Florida, going, fuck y'all.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And then I have another friend who lives a little bit further south in what's the name of the town? Oh my goodness, I always.
How long did it take you to, like, obviously you stopped along the way, but like really, realistically, 4 months is how long you were gone?
Yeah, I mean, it was about I was on the road across the country for like 10 to 15 days the first way, and then the way back was like 10 days or something like that. Because I stopped, like I said, I'd stop here for a day, stop there for a day. Like,
yeah.
I had friends in Vegas at the time.
Okay. So you're saying you actually stayed in Oregon for like 3 months?
It was like 2.5.
Yeah, you stayed out there for a little bit though, and you just lived.
2 months, and then I went to Southern Oregon to my buddy that owns a farm out there. He has a big. He actually, one of my neighbors from here, and this is another weird connection. So like when I was a kid, when I was growing up, when I was younger, I had this neighbor for a short minute. His father was actually the manager of Line Country where I worked. He was another one of my friends who first introduced me to like certain things about certain things about smoking, because he had followed like the freaking what is the rainbow what's the Rainbow Gathering? He'd done the Rainbow Gathering thing and all that shit. So like he'd already been into like that whole traveling and all that stuff. He lived down here, and he has now a farm out in Oregon. I would hang out with. I went there and I smoked. He's close friends with Maddie White, so I worked at Maddie's studio for a minute while I was out there in the South. I was working with Maddie and a couple other people there. And
the fishing lure guy.
What's up?
Fishing lure guy.
Yeah. The dude who runs Champ. He
runs the Champ show. He runs the Champ show.
he's close friends with my buddy Shane. Who, what's funny is that Maddie in around 97, 98 had his bus in my neighborhood, like right up the road from me, next to my buddy Shane's house. Like I didn't even realize it was him at the time. Like I had no idea what the fuck. But like he was a glass blower already. He was in the scene, all that shit. But he was like right here, and he jokes about like when we became friends later. I was like, yeah, I'm friends with Shane. Like, and we had that connection. And he's like, yeah, man, I had my bus like right down the road from your parents' house. Like, I think they must have been the one yelling at me or something like that. It was hilarious. Like, it was one of those, they weren't actually the ones that yelled at him.
That's so funny, bro.
It was a cool little like circle round connection of like people that know people, and you wind up in the same like from across the country. That was the wildest thing about it. Is like he's from Oregon, I'm from here, and we happen to know somebody who is like same neighborhood
Yeah.
connection. It was a really interesting little moment, of understanding that like how things circle around and stuff. So
Have you
yeah,
competed in any of those champ shows?
what's that?
Have you competed in any of the champ shows?
I did the one in Orlando. I did whatchamacallit, it was Champs Orlando 2018, I think it was 2018. And it was like we had to do a Halloween piece, so I did a stack of, it was like my attempt at sculpture, but I did a stack of pumpkins,
Cool.
and I put out a whole big like display for it. That I had this like I actually won third place that
Hell
year,
yeah.
and which was I was pretty proud. I actually still
Hell yeah, bro. I never won shit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, that's a milestone. Like,
Yeah, dude.
at the time, like, you know what, man, I'd like to like listen. Had there been guys, some of the like bigger guys who who go to the games, my piece may not have necessarily been that caliber, but at the same time, like, I feel like I did pretty damn well comparatively.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, we all
I
go in there with our pieces thinking we've done amazing. But what I'm saying is the fact that someone else actually gave you third, dude, that's fucking awesome.
So what's funny is that like I went in there and Maddie was really really he was, I don't want to say really critical, but he was honest critical, which I appreciate 100%. You need that as an artist. You need something. I don't want somebody to blow smoke up my ass. If you see something wrong with my piece, kind of tell me about it. Like, don't be a dickhead about it, but tell me like in a way that's constructive so that I can think about it positively for the next time. And like with that particular piece, like he even commented. I did the whole idea of of that whole piece was like I drew a house with a little porch, and I actually built out a wood porch that the glass piece sat on, and it was, like I said, a stack of pumpkins that had all the funky faces on them and shit like that. And I drew like this little creepy guy like staring out the window at you, and I made there was a Q-tip holder that had a little sign on it that said, "Please take only one." And basically I had a whole story behind it where like you walked up to this guy's house on Halloween, and you always knew everybody had that one house in the neighborhood with like the creepy person that would put out the bowl, and you knew they were
Always.
home, but like they didn't want to connect with you. So like he'd be sitting there sneaking out, making sure you only took one piece of candy, and like I had this whole story for it. And like Maddie even told me at the end, he's like, that's what really won this, is that you did it as a presentation. It wasn't just the glass piece was important, and you could have done bigger, but at the same time, because of the presentation, that's what actually gave you my vote. Is basically what he told me, and I was like, all right, well, I appreciate that. I took that
You
forward.
had those story written out?
No, that's just me. I have my moments of being like kind of very extroverted, even though I'm an introvert. It's kind of weird. Like I'm not necessarily comfortable doing it, but I can like kind of switch.
Well, it happens through your
like,
art. That's how introverts speak usually, is through art. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and I was able to explain what I was doing as weird and be my weird self for people, and everybody laughed and had a good time with it, and it was a good time. So I really enjoyed doing that show. We had a lot of fun for that.
2016?
I was 18.
2018. Okay. Wow. Right in the timeline there. Right in the timeline there. So 2016, 17, you're chilling in Boro Farm, Oregon. You come back, and then you go to these Champs Orlando. Is that what happened, more or less?
It was like a year later, whatever it was, something like that, after the Boro Farm thing. Because like, you got to remember, Boro Farm was 4 years. Like that whole thing, the whole Oregon trip was 4 years ago at this point. So, I mean, we're getting to that. We're getting to the last few years, I guess you could say, where things have been like the progression of the piston recyclers from the original V1 to the V2, because like we didn't really get into any of that type of stuff that I don't know.
Well, that's what I want to know too, I guess. But like what I'm saying is you went out to Boro Farm and you learned glass hard.
Well, yes.
And then you came back and started your design work.
Well,
you had already been designing.
I had things that I was making at the time, but I didn't quite. I kind of went out there with this mindset of like especially at that time, I figured that maybe I would learn a lot from everybody and kind of like learn. I did learn a lot about from everybody about the industry and stuff like that. Glass, I learned things from certain people like Tex and I want like by watching, and there was definitely a growth in that. But it was a different type of growth too. It was more about seeing. See, for me, I had worked at the shop and everything else, I kind of saw everybody, I suppose, on a little bit too high of a pedestal at times, and that trip kind of gave me a little bit more of a down to earth vision of what the industry really is.
Sure.
Even though I'd been to the trade shows, and even though I had been out with people like with Marley's, I had gone to the trade shows, I had met all these people and stuff like that. Or not all of them, I met a lot of these people. Um, I never I saw it differently, and then once I was able to actually, once I sat down in their homes, so to speak, and saw not just their struggles but their strides and everything else, and and heard stories and understood, like it humanized it for me, I suppose, in a certain
Hell
sense. And I
yeah,
also
bro. I needed that too, bro.
I needed a little bit of that at the time to kind of even look at myself as what this career meant to me. And I'm still battling with that. You know, it's one thing. The
Every
problem
day.
is, well, yeah, the thing is, like when you get into it at first, it's like it's enamoring, you know, and like you like people say, like they get enamored, like you're lost in the flame, like you say, and I get that, and that's kind of where I got lost in learning text, and I wasn't focusing on like what my business was doing or what it looked like or how much money I may or may not be making for that matter. It didn't matter to me. None of it mattered. It was just create, get better, create, get better, create, get better. Like that has been my main, like my mindset is just tunnel vision of getting better at what I do. And then that trip, in a lot of ways, not only did it help me get a little bit better, but it also helped me step back and open up my view a little bit and go, whoa, there's a lot more to this than the way I've been looking at it. I really need to kind of like batten down the hatches and really focus on how I can make this a viable thing so that I can be doing this for the next however many years of my life. If that's going to be however it's going to line up. Like it was kind of like a crisis moment at the time, especially that it's still even, I mean, it lingers in its own way, but it's a constant thought of like, how does my business progress? Where does this shape up to? Where does this look and everything else? And being real about it, you know. Yes, that's right.
That's what that trip did for you.
Yeah, it opened my eyes to the business, honestly, in a lot of ways. Even watching Craig and Herb work, like the way that they work, their what's the word for it? And diligence is a good way to put it. Their own perseverance, like determination. I mean, like I felt like I was not moving when I was that 2 months that I was there. There were a lot of days that like I felt like I wasn't moving a quarter of their speed. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like they were just they just were able to work fast and quickly, and even when they were doing collabs with other people, and they just it made me think about like, all right, well, where do I stand in this? Well, how fast can I actually move? And like they've been doing it for a long time, so there's a lot of things that I have to kind of I give myself a little leeway on, you know. But it's tough, man. To do this, you have to be to do this for a living. You know, you have to be able to be produce in a reasonable time fashion stuff that actually can sell and be worthy of somebody to buy and everything else. And it is a process. It's a lot to put. It's a lot to put in. So it's a lot of effort, a lot of energy,
When you came back with that mindset, where did you first go? What was the first thing you did? Or like were you not jonesing to come back and like build your business up after seeing them running a company and
I was, and you know what, man. Like the thing is, and I know I try not to be too. I don't want to be negative about it. Like for me, it has been a stumbling process, you know. And I've had really good strides up, and then I've had other things that kind of, it's been a bumpy road, you know. And it's not, it's just the reality of the situation that life is always a little bit tricky, but at the same time, I'm proud of what I do. So like I know that like what I'm doing is for me and for the right reasons, you know.
it's
But
always for you?
yeah, at the same time, I
I'm asking. Is that what you're saying? It's always for you?
no. I mean, yes and no. I mean,
I'm okay.
it's a
Here's what I'm
hard,
saying. You know how like
it's
some
a hard
people.
question. It's a hard question to answer. A lot of it is for me because I do enjoy what I do, but at the same time, like not every color pattern is for me. You know what I'm saying? Like when I pick a color pattern on pieces, a lot of times, like I'm not. It wouldn't be something I necessarily might own, but I
Okay,
like the
okay,
way that
okay,
it
okay,
matches
okay.
for somebody else. So a lot of what I like because of what I make is the same thing over and over again in like pistons or toucans or slides and whatever else. A lot of what I do is for the people that buy it, with them in mind more so than me. It, the design and the creation of original things is more where I play. My mind is like that's for me. So like when I take a day and I'm like I'm gonna make a weird crazy handpipe that has all sorts of fume sections and stuff on it, like that's for me. You know, that's because I just love glass and I love fume and I
But
love
you're
what.
making it to sell.
Sometimes,
But you're
sometimes for me.
but I'm saying when you say you, I guess what my point is on that is that you came back. Your vision was to do your thing, but realistically, what I'm trying to figure out here is when you were figuring out your techniques and you were developing like your vocabulary of skill sets, you were blowing glass to pay bills.
Sure, of course,
Okay, so yeah, so when you came back, how were you more focused on paying bills and and like what changed there for you? Did you come
just
back and like
the quality of my work and the speed of it, and at the same
okay,
time,
okay.
the, the pricing of my work comparatively to what it should be, and that's been a process in its own right. Finding the right happy mediums for things and stuff, and like that makes sense for me for my
Where you're
time.
saying it matches like industry standards.
Well, that too. I mean, I try to be not like a ridiculously any one way or the
Yeah,
other.
exactly, exactly.
I want to be comparable to what else is in the same range.
I
And
feel
that's,
like Boro Farm would have taught me that.
oh yeah, no, dude. If there's one thing that like Craig especially, Craig is really he knows the business.
They're a
And
good business, bro.
he is. He's good at. He
I don't know
taught
what
me
the
a
fuck
number.
they did.
What's up?
I don't know if why they dissipated, but their hustle. I mean, maybe because at that time period it went from being like branded artists to like one guy. It was just like a elbow or a coil. Where like
Like I said, I don't. There were things that happened in there in between them, and I'm not.
personal shit.
Yeah, and it's not my business to discuss by
But
any stretch.
their business
Did it start,
itself
like,
was a good model for you.
yes, yes. Even Craig has been even before I went out there. He gave me some of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten. Um, he's always been like there, and it's never really anything crazy. Like the best way to describe it is like one of the first pieces of advice he gave me at the demo, the original Marley's demo, when I first met them in person. And I was in, like I said, I was noob at that time, man. So like I went up to him and I had been having a trouble making. I don't even remember what the heck I was making, whatever. But I started rambling on about how I made this piece with this color and I connected it to this and I thought I maybe I did this when the stretcher like maybe it was a color problem. I had some like ridiculous explanation in my head about what was happening with why I had a crack in a piece. And he stops me halfway through the conversation and he just stops me and goes, Nick, if it cracks, you fucked up. And I looked at him, and I use his voice because like Craig has his voice. It's like it's a stern like Craig. Like, it's Craig, and it's awesome. But he's Craig looks at me and it's my best bad impression. If you ever watch this, Craig, I'm sorry. But he said that to me, and I looked at him, especially at the time. I'm like, as a noob, I was like, I what, huh? And he's like, I'm not saying you're bad or you fucking up. He's like, but if something cracks, you fucked up on your move in your weld and whatever it is. He said, open it up, look at it, look at where it cracked, find out where it is that it cracked, find out what little fold you didn't blow out properly, where you didn't do it. Think about it. Think about how it happened and try not to do it again. That's how you get better.
Man, that's
And
amazing advice, bro.
that was the best thing I ever learned is like to not blame the glass.
Well, to diagnose it.
What's
That's
that?
you're saying to diagnose it.
Yeah, exactly. Diagnose it, go back over it, look at what you're doing. Think about the hand movements you made, and even while you're making something, if you make a shift the wrong way, remember that happened so that if something cracks, you can kind of go back and go, well, that's where it started from. I felt it when it happened, and that's how you start to learn how the glass even moves, and you learn a lot more about all of that. It is a really that's one of the most crucial pieces of advice I ever learned. That was when I talk about shaping moments. That was a moment that changed me from thinking that it was ever the glass, and then learning that I had to watch what the fuck I was doing with my hands.
Yeah.
And that was the most important lesson I ever learned. 100%.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, and so when you say about like what I learned from Craig out there, like it was things like that. he
Well,
had
it's I
ways of
call that refinement. They taught you how to be refined in your shit and your craft.
yeah, and I mean, he even taught. I didn't even go out there for lessons, man. It was just friends hanging out and bullshit, and like, and he's open. You know, they were open. They were willing to help me. Is really the best way to put it. As a
I
friend.
always think that those types of glass, like they are a certain style of a glass blower, though. And what I'm saying is that style is the ones that's always like, yeah, dude, hang out for a little bit, get on the torch, do something.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like, all right. So a good example of that, Mac, their guy, Mac's Glass, was like he used to bring them smoke or whatever. I guess back in the day, like way back in the day before even like legal and whatever else. Like he'd come and hang out at the shop,
We
and
call
like
that
it
a
was just
donation. It's totally legal. You're allowed to gift people.
whatever they were doing. But like he'd sit there and he'd roll J's for them while they were working, and like he just watched because he was enamored with what they were doing. And then after like 6 months of Craig being like, "Hey, jump on the torch," and he finally was like, "Sure," and he jumped on and he made a wigwag because he
Hell
was
yeah.
able like he was watching them make wigwags for months. So he was able to like pick up a piece of tubing and stretch it and do the wigwag. And next thing you know, Craig's like, "You're our new apprentice."
Yeah, dude.
And like Mac was initiated in and that became he learned Mac. You know,
Awesome.
a tremendous amount from Herb and Craig. Like he has all day long. That man is he'll sing their praises too. He learned a lot from them and from other people that's the other thing. Craig and Herb are that shop was it was like a hub. A lot of people would come through there. A lot of like Dosh came through there and like all these a lot of other artists would show up and like especially for Mac being there, he learned a lot through everybody else too. So that's the best thing you can ever do in this industry as a noob is get in with people who are willing to let you in. And it's not easy to do because a lot of people don't necessarily want to have the shop opened up. But the people that do, if you can become friendly with people without being pushy, because that's the biggest thing about all of it is it has to be natural. Things kind of line up. But the artists that get in, that's I think the best jump start you can get is from people who just by watching, like watching people that know what they're doing and picking up on the subtleties and hand movements. It's
Man, that's crazy how you went. How I guess also like if you have an opportunity to go to a demo, is what you're saying too. Go to a demo and meet these people and talk to these people.
absolutely every time. That's why I was at like almost every single demo that Marley's or Wonderland put on. I was there. Um, perfect example. Perfect example. LSD Gallery. Have you ever heard of them? You remember them from
Yeah,
way back
bro.
when?
I'm trying to think what happened with them. Something happened with them.
There's a lot of things that happened with them.
No, well, I
They
know
were
they
right.
got busted. They got busted for like slinging oil.
Kratom, I think it was one of the drug things everybody was into. Yes, but there was definitely that happened.
Are they
Um,
open still?
I don't know.
I
I
have
have
the
not.
honestly, I have them blocked. Are you friends with them?
I'm not. I was friendly with them. I don't have harbor ill will toward the couple that owns the place. I don't necessarily like the way that they were.
Oh, you know what they were doing, bro? They were
They're
posting
online.
work. They were posting work of collaborative artists during shows that was like way heavy. Like let me put this for example, okay? Let me put this for example. You know how Salt's collabing with a bunch of young ass kids?
Yeah.
It would be like if they were having a show for a young ass kid and the only piece that they used to promote the show was the Salt collab.
Yeah, and there was definitely some.
At one
There,
point, I said something though. I was like, "Man, you guys are so fucking whack to do that." And they openly were like,
they,
"Yo, fuck you."
their online persona was not
They were like,
necessarily.
"Fuck you," and I was like, "All right, fuck me. You're right."
Essentially, that was their. I saw a lot of comments that they had made on their posts and other people's posts. That their online persona,
Yo,
unfortunately, is a
they
lot
had
like.
it a great gallery. I don't know shit about that, bro. We're not shit talking. This is shit talking is when you falsify information about people to ridden their name into the gutter. Where I'm telling
Yeah,
you, these people are,
I think there was a few episodes. I don't remember exactly the specifics of it. And yet again, I'm not sitting here trying to like drag anybody through the mud by
bro.
any stretch.
These people, I don't know
They
shit about them, but their
stuff.
store was nice.
Yeah, so it was. For a small of a shop as it was very nice.
I would have
And
ran a gallery just like that if I had enough money, bro.
it was really actually cool and in their own right. And like I said, they had at the time too. It was they had a certain niche, and especially in that area of town, like Lake Worth
Sweet
area.
local work, and I think Bob the Glassblower was their big glassblower.
No, it was whatchamacallit, not Bob. It wasn't Bob. It was Bird Dog. You're thinking about
Bird
Bird Dog.
Dog. That's who it was. It was Bird Dog. That was their big. They had like a
Bird
big
Dog.
one.
Jay came down. They had Jay come down for a demo, and I went over to Jay's demo, and it was in there like behind. They had a little garage off the back of the building.
Okay.
The demo was. There was like 15 people there. I got there like maybe an hour and a half after the demo had started. I got there a little late, And I walk up, and I had never met Jay before, and I had a beard at the time and everything else. And like I walk up, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I think he like recognized Glassblower or somebody in the business,
Yeah,
whatever fucking.
dude.
It's kind of a weird like whatever, but I
Sure.
looked at him, and he's looking at, and I look at him, and he's looking frustrated, truly frustrated. And he came down, and he's used to running a Carlisle, I believe it was, and they had a GTT, which that's what I run, you know. So he's so used to running a Carlisle that like he's trying to do what he does on a GTT, but using Carlisle style flames. And like he had never run a GTT before. They told him they had a Carlisle for him to run, but like they didn't when he got here. And he's struggling to try to basically it's like putting you or me on a torch we've never
Sure.
fucking used, and like hey, do a demo for fucking people. Like he's freaking the
My
fuck out.
brother,
Like
my brother did a demo there. He was in the same boat.
yeah, they weren't very good. They weren't good at accommodating how to line up a demo by
But
any.
Mickelson and my brother did a demo there too. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and they had some good ones too. Like they
That was
definitely
great, bro. That was great.
yet again they managed to do some really good
Do
stuff.
you
And
remember
like
that?
for people like yet
Do you
again
remember
for
that one
people.
specifically?
What's that?
Mickelson.
The demo that he was there
It
for.
was pouring down rain. He was in the rain under a tarp.
What's that?
He was in the rain under a tent. It was
Yes.
it was the same day. There was a Wonderland demo going on, and I think it was like Kurt B and Slinger and Jop and all them the same day.
Yeah. Something like yeah. I
Same
remember.
day?
Now that I think about it, I don't think I actually went to that demo. I don't think I went to that demo. I think I went to the bigger one.
Of
Now,
course you went to the bigger one, dude.
well, because that was part of their thing is they were trying to compete with other stores in town at the
Dumb.
same time. Just run. If everybody talked and everybody runs like their own races, then everybody wins. Like I
Yeah,
never
bro.
understood.
Of course.
There
Of
was a
course.
lot of there was like, and it got to a point, thankfully, later on that everything was good. But back to the bird dog story. Bird dog was there. He's trying his best to do what he's got to do, and like I come up and I'm like, I could see the frustration on his face. And we start bullshitting. And he takes a minute, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to use like the flame to get like I keep getting scuzz on this can, and I was having trouble doing this thing." He's like, "How the fuck do you use this torch?" And I'm like, and I was like, "Well, what type of flame you use?" And he shows me, and it's like this fucking flame because he used to go Carlisle. And I'm like, Jay, no, 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 no. And I showed him, I'm like, we changed it, and he was like, bro, thank you, and like he was really appreciative in the moment. And even later, it was a great, really cool bonding moment because like
Hell yeah.
it was good, you know. Like we both, he thanked me for it. He was able to save the can, knocked it out, made this badass fucking, his plane recycler and everything there. And we connected at that moment. And like afterward, like he followed me online, and we would randomly talk here and there. When I was in Oregon, I hit him up and I was like, "Hey, I'm passing through. Like, do you want to hang?" And I wound up going. Like, I was only supposed to stay there for a day to like work with him. He was working in a Monty Summer's Day studio at the time, so I wound up working. Like, I went there, and I wound up like for what's supposed to be a day stop turned into me staying at his house for like a week, working in the shop there and working with Amani, with Sarita, with whatchamacallit, who else was in there? Like, I gave GPS a few sections. Like, I gave basically everybody. I worked for a week and just like busted out sections and stuff for everybody.
That's awesome.
And it was all because of that little moment at the demo that I had met Bird Dog and we had a really good moment, you know. So when you talk about going to demos, like to circle back to where we originally were about going to demos and doing all
Go
that
to
stuff,
them.
like always, if you have any opportunity to see another glass blower do something that, especially somebody who is you look up to and their work, absolutely take the time, spend the time, and just watch. Shut your mouth and watch because you will. It's amazing what you can learn from just watching somebody work. You know, like there'll be a hand movement.
What's
Like,
been your favorite demo you've been to?
Ooh, man.
And was it in Florida?
What only you know?
Like DFO was a demo too, bro. That had to have been fun as hell. That probably was the best one.
You know what's funny is when I was at DFO, I didn't watch the glass blowing as much as I did talk to people. You know, I walked around.
Okay, you used it as like a what do they call it, dude?
There's just so much shit that goes on there, and I was with
Social.
other people, and I didn't really have. It was my first time at DFO, so I didn't really sit there and watch everybody work. It was also a madhouse. Like in order to do that, you had to be like shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people in there, and I wasn't. I was able to watch them. I went through and looked at the pieces afterward. I did get some chances to watch, but I didn't really watch the same way like you would at a demo. The best demo, man, that is tough. That's really tough, man. Because every single one of everybody that's been here that has done a demo that I've watched
You know what was
has.
crazy? Just to while you're thinking about it, what was crazy? I feel like with these demos in Florida, because I came up at the same time period you were coming up in, watching those demos. It was so weird because it was like each demo we would go to, it would be right on the verge of new technique they were doing. But it wasn't
Yeah,
new technique that the artist was coming up with. It was like industry standard. Like the first time I ever saw a ring seal was at the Slinger demo.
yeah, Oh, yeah, and
But
you know
it
what's
was
funny?
it was like Slinger and Germ. Germ was who
I,
I actually saw do it, I
yeah,
think.
you and I were both. Yeah, we were both there at that demo, and the you know what's funny is like I talking about joints and everything else and ring seals. I mentioned something to Germ that day. And I was like, man, I always struggle with joints and making them and
Me
everything else.
too.
And he looks at me and he goes, "That'll never change." He's like, "You will always. Everybody always struggles with
Oh,
joints in
really?
their life."
He told me make sure you watch Slinger. He's going to do a demo later.
Like he was not like he didn't beat around the bush about it for me. He was very honest about it. He was just like, yeah, he's like he's like they're always tricky. He's like joints are just it's one of the harder parts of what we do, and it is. I still to this day like there's some days that I'll be making a joint and it's perfect, like fits perfect. You know, no wiggle, no nothing, or not like perfect lineup, everything. Like first time I ream it out, it looks good and it's straight, and I'm like move right the fuck along. And then there's other days where I spend a full 12 hours trying to make two joints because every single one of them doesn't come out straight or right or whatever else. And that's just the nature of the beast. You know, there is sometimes you
And
thankfully those
you do a lot of
I don't have
10 mils or 14s?
what's that?
A lot of 10 mils or 14s?
Depends. The pistons I make are all 10 mil for the most part, short of oh yeah, I didn't even show you, but this is the 5 mil.
Yeah, show us some more of your work.
This is a 5 mil that fits in the palm of my hand.
Okay, so who's got the nail for that?
Evan Shore is the only person that does, but just as a comparison size frame for the two. And this one actually, what's interesting is the base of this one of the 5 mil is the same diameter as the donut on the 14 mil that I made.
Okay, so you're really technical with the sizing of all those components.
Everything has to be.
Okay, so
And
you
that's
blow glass kind of like a lathe worker, but without the lathe.
what's funny. It's tricky without a lathe, honestly.
But I'm asking,
That's
is that what you are? You're trying to like you're trying to create lathe worked glass, but without the lathe.
essentially is a lot of times it's what I do. Yeah.
Cool.
Um, and not that I shoot for that, but I am inspired by the cleanliness of lathe glass, like the lines and like even like the foot and everything else. Like a lot of that is what I shoot for. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely like that's a big part of it. But I will have a lathe at some point. I just haven't, it's unfortunately on my list for the moment. But that will be there. That will get there. What was I saying about that?
Well. Number one here, just to keep you on track, we were talking about best demo you ever been to.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the best demo I haven't even gone back. The easiest answer to that is I can't say because
They're all
enjoyed
amazing.
I enjoyed each and every one of them for their own value and right along the way. And I mean, like, you know what? I'll take that back. The Boro Farm demo was probably one of the most fun because we were able to set up afterward. We had a table that was like 40 people and rigs set out and everything else. Like we kind of like shut down the shop afterward and we had like this big secret sesh after
Cool.
with artists and stuff. So as a noob with sitting down and smoking with all the guys and everything else, that was a lot of fun. The Eric Ross and Brandon Martin one was amazing too.
Oh man, I
Although
never saw that.
oh yeah, I have a pendant actually from that's an Eric Ross Brandon Martin collab. It's like I don't even know how many of those there are in the world, but like I have one of them. It's kind of
And you so like your big inspirations are obviously people you've taken lessons from and learned from in these demos and stuff. But like scientific workers in the pipe game, you like Eric Ross, you like Evil Empire, you like shit like that.
the Evol is like what they do is amazing. Some of the pieces they do, like it's so techy and so tricky to do some of the seals they make and the combinations of how they do what they do. It's yeah, absolutely, yes. Look, man, I'm all about pushing this medium as far as we can. I mean, like everybody continually pushes. Like even a lot of what I do, a lot of the angles that I use are things that you're not really technically like supposed to use. You're not supposed to put hard angles on glass, or hard edges. Like, but I do it because I make sure that when I blow it out, there's a radius on the inside and there isn't like the stress paces, and I reheat evenly after the fact, and like I do everything I can to make sure that I de-stress doing those things. I'm not classically trained or scientifically trained, so I can't say I'm doing it 100% right, but I believe I am from everything that I've learned.
I think that term scientifically trained, classically trained, you are that through experience of going to those demos.
Fair enough. Yes.
There's no such thing as scientifically trained. Dude, what we use was made. It wasn't made out of knowledge. It was made out of ignorance.
Sure, and the best way to learn is just to try in a lot of ways. Like
that's where the knowledge came from.
Yep. I mean, you're gonna fail. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna things aren't always gonna work out, and it'll be discouraging at times. And you have to push past it to try for the next one because that's, like they say, it takes 99 times out of 100, or it takes one time out of 100 to get things right. But the problem is that it can take 99 bad or 99 wrong things to get to that one.
Yeah.
So you still have to try until you find that one that works. And
I feel that.
And the determination to push past that, those down moments of well, it didn't work, and going past. That's what we do. That's what we all. That's a large part of this.
Man. So full circle though. We figure out where you're at now. Right now we're at 2017, 2018. You're back in Florida. Shit. What the fuck have you been doing? For the past 4 or 5 years.
The past 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to get better at this. I run into my own problems as far as moving forward in some ways. I wish I could say that I hit a bit of a slump lately, only in the creative front, but not terribly. I'm still working, I'm still diligently working on making pieces for orders and stuff like that. I'm doing my stuff to try to get that lined up. I put a lot of time in the last year, especially. I put a lot more time into getting, I put together a price list and proper photos of all of my work. I've been working on getting my photography skills up. Learning how to use my photo booth properly and stuff like that, trying to get the core of it so that when I present my work, it's actually being presented in a proper way. And at the same time, I want to be able to still put things out there, so I take pictures and throw them on Instagram in my hand or whatever. But a lot of what I'm trying for is I suppose to elevate the product so that when I want it to reflect the amount of time I put in, and I want.
How long does one of those take?
Too long.
I imagine days.
It can.
I imagine you can make it in a couple hours, but I imagine you spend days.
Well, I make batches of them. So what I do is I this past order I had. Let's see. There's
that concept of your work, bro. The style of work you make though is batch worthy. Number one. But number two, it's what you have to let the people know this. The people watching this that are trying to figure out how to blow glass, by doing batches of stuff, you're dialing in sizes. And the way you blow glass, you're saying you're very key on that.
I have to. All right, so one of the things that was a big trick about the design, and you can even see it, this is one of the first ones. This one right here is one of the first V2s that doesn't even have color on the base. It's got mixed colors and everything. I kept it because it had a crack that I fixed and whatever. It became a second. This is mine. But the transition between that and even the newer ones, all of the angles.
Bro, that gray one is filthy, bro. And are you talking about the angle sketchy at that weird angle down there too?
Well, everything the angle. All right, so the angle of approach for
that 45 seal. Yeah.
Depending on the length of the can. So if the can's too long, I have to pitch it up because otherwise it sits too far off the back. And then the uptakes don't go up right. So everything had to be dialed in such a manner that these things, the cans are 55 millimeters long, 56. They can vary by a couple of millimeters, but I have to be pretty damn specific with that. The foot has to be the same. The base of the foot is, each one of them I have a diameter or measurement that I go for that's within 5 millimeters. That's my tolerance level for it. So when I'm blowing it out, I'm making sure I get to that diameter first, and then I cut it off and do all the sizes.
That's awesome, bro.
Because if I don't, everything doesn't line up.
Well, now you're dialing in the function. Bear Mountain talks about this shit too. I pay attention to his stream and his feed a lot. And he also is someone who, he works on a lathe now, but he traditionally worked from designing scientific, high-end pipe art, but without a lathe, but designing it in a way that looks like it's made on a lathe. And I'm telling you, you have that going, bro. That's sweet as fuck. I never paid attention to that in your work.
Well, it's hard.
I don't think people know that.
No, I don't. In a lot of ways,
your piece is so artistic in its representation, and you you as a human being, when you talk to people, like I'm telling you, as someone who only meets you every couple years in passing, you come off as a fucking artist, dude. You don't come
Well,
off as an engineer.
thank you. I
But
appreciate
but
that.
Bear Mountain has the same thing. Bear Mountain, whenever I see him, I'm like, dude, you look like a fucking artist.
I've never met him personally, but he's a really
But
he's I like his work a
he
lot.
talks education. He talks educated, like he
Oh,
speaks.
he does. Yeah, he does.
But
He
you
does.
have the same thing, bro. You just need to talk more, bro. You need to
I'm,
talk
I'm
more.
I'm a huge believer in vocabulary being one of the most powerful tools we have. Semantics is something that I argue with my folks about it all the time because like it's one of those things that the way we say things to people and how we like the words we choose, the length of explanation and things like that can come across in a bad way too. But at the same time, it truly expresses what the hell you're thinking, as opposed to being yeah, bro, like what's going on? Like I don't know, I can't do that. Like
I'm
I
I'm
can't.
very connectable with people that are like kind of came up the same way I may have come up within my age group. I'm contemporary, where I'm
Sure.
telling you when you bro, you need to like I don't know if people know this about your work. You come off as an artist. Like I would catch you in passing and not know that you were as technically sound as you are. But Jesus fucking Christ, dude, you obviously know what you're doing here.
Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. I
You need to
definitely
promote that more. Like, dude, oh my God, dude, I would love to see your piece on a shirt, but as a schematic where like it says the exact sizes of each little part, bro. I would buy that on a shirt in a fucking
well,
second,
that's
dude.
actually, I like that. I like that idea because you know what I could. That's actually kind of an
Like
interesting
like
thought.
like the piece, and then it says like
No, no, no.
50,
I get it. No, no, like
55
actually
mil.
drawing, like actually having like a blueprint, like an actual
Yes,
tattoo
yes, yes,
design
yes.
with like the actual like all the specifications. That's actually I like
Oh,
that.
bro, bro, because like you
That's
speak
actually
well for
that
it.
very well might be the next thing. And
God, that would be such a sweet ass
I'll give you
fucking
credit.
shirt, bro.
I'll give you credit, and I'll definitely you'll get to do it.
You don't have
I
to do
promise.
that, bro. But I love the idea. I love the idea because, bro, because I'm always talking to artists, and I'm always
Mhm.
trying to figure out like let me be as clear as I can here. A lot of artists talk very well, but when it comes time to speak about their glass, they talk horribly for it. Okay, and then there's the opposite where people speak really well for their glass, but talk very horribly. And I'm not
Sure.
meaning like bad, but I mean like dude, you
Not
rarely
really.
ever hold like you don't seek a conversation out from those guys.
Sure. Sure. And it depends. Like there's it takes all kinds in this, man. There's no question about that. Um,
That's why I asked you yesterday when we were talking if you were a gamer because you're such an intellectual mind that I imagine you game, but you don't really game.
well, I did. Like I said, I used to a lot more than I do now, and there's times that I definitely feel like I miss it. Like when I got into Destiny, I did play Destiny, and I played Destiny 2 for a little while.
Online.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's massive. It's
Me and
massive.
Clutch, me and Clutch used to play like he was ahead of me, so like he'd run me through some of the mines and stuff, and he taught me a lot about how to play that game. So I definitely get into that, and like the problem is like when I get into it, I wind up getting lost,
Yeah, okay, okay,
and like
okay.
once I'm lost, like my other everything else goes by the wayside. So like it's a lot like glass for me. Like with glass, I wind up lost in this so much that everything else kind of goes by the
Okay,
wayside. So
that's where I say that you seem in your glass, I recognize you as an artist because you're not only are you technically your technical vocabulary is lit as fuck, and not only can you like speak for it, but you also have the downside of an artist where you get lost in it, so it's hard to communicate maybe.
yeah,
Like you're battling with yourself. You're having your own party by yourself.
there are definitely some days like that.
Where
But,
I'm telling you, Bear Mountain promotes, and like not even Bear Mountain, but you know Burley. You remember Burley?
yeah, yeah,
Burley's
bro,
the
yeah,
same kind of way. Burley will speak very well when you actually talk to him about his work, but
he's
unless
really
you ask
incredibly
him,
knowledgeable.
yeah, but unless you ask him about it, he's very much an artist.
Yeah, he is, and you know what? That's yes. In that sense, I guess you could compare me to Burley that way, and I can
I'm asking.
certainly no, I 100% we see what you're saying because of the introverted nature that I have, and I don't tend to even like when I'm like before this, I was very nervous. Now I'm here, I'm fine, I'm doing it. But the build up of going live or posting myself or putting myself out there like that is it can be a little bit nerve wracking in its own right. There's no question about
Yeah,
that.
dude. For the first like 20 minutes, it is. You feel like you're talking to nobody.
Yeah, and I think that I could build. I need to do a little bit more of that. Like I said, I bought this camera for that purpose. Like I want to set it up kind of like, and this is the bench, so like I'm gonna set it up kind of like up somewhere, so that even if I'm not talking, you want to watch me work, I'll work. And
Hell
then
yeah.
maybe if you want to comment, I'll comment and back and forth. there's definitely there's a side
Well,
to it.
I
Oh,
think
wow.
your work almost needs, every time you put a piece out, you almost need to talk about the schematic properties of it. I feel like what you don't do or you do. I'm asking.
Well, sometimes like this the details that you're finding fascinating. I feel like sometimes are lost on people. Um,
Always, dude.
I mean, like I don't think that, and I almost feel like I'd bore people if I started really getting into what it like would
You
take to.
would. You would. You would.
And all right, so the best there's a good
You have to
analogy.
tone it. You have to tone it right.
Well, that's the thing. A friend of mine he went to college for organic chemistry, and at one point, like he got to a point where this teacher turned to him and said, "Listen, you're really doing this for a living. This is what you're going to go with for your life." And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "All right, so you need to be aware of something. Nobody will ever find this as interesting as you do, and if you talk about it in conversations, people are going to get bored really fast." And like his teacher just like laid it out for him. He's like, just realize that like no, like when you go to explain it to somebody, do it in a way that is not that, because like when he tried a few times when we were having conversations, he's one of my old friends from high school, and like he went into organic chemistry and all that. I'm like, he tried to explain shit to me. I'm like, what? Huh? And that was he learned quick. That was not how, and like he couldn't talk to any of his friends that way about it. And that's just he keeps it to himself. But
Man,
glass is
that's
a little different. People are enamored, but when you start getting into the detail and the nitty gritty, they're like, wait, what? And they either don't want to, they don't. I don't want to say they don't care, but it's just like it's almost like too much. It's too much.
I guess where I'm at, bro. If you could sell me on it, that's where you need to stop. Like sell me on your, like, dude, your piece is so fucking cool and different. I never fucking knew it was based around like an actual structure of schematic properties where like bro, we all as art, okay, as like collectors of art, we look at art and we go, man, what hole is this fucking dude in? Like I say that to myself sometimes. I'm like milli artists. I collect milli artists, and I'm like, wow, this guy is trapped in like the movie character or celebrity work. Like they make a lot of like, dude. Okay, Stephen Bamey, Boehm. Sometimes people pronounce it. Okay, his work. He's caught up in this like capturing highlighted characters of generations. He's caught up in that. Like he's in that, or he's in like his style. Like there's something about it that, but he never really explains it or talks about it. Where like a person like yourself, bro, that style of work, man, I almost want to hear about it the same way I want to hear like how it's made. Like that's like it's like a how it's made episode. It almost needs that.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, it can definitely lead to that. There's no question. It's well, you know what's funny is I definitely have wanted to share a little bit more about it because I feel like people would definitely key on it because I think it helps to explain why the price point is the way it is. Number one.
Sure, it should fucking do, dude. I'm telling you, I don't understand pricing unless someone explains either their commitment to it and how they own it, or if someone explains their intellectual devourment, like their what they put into it intellectually.
Sure, and like for me, it's a lot of that, and it's also the time. You know, simply the time factor of like what it takes to size out each one of these pieces exactly, and then when something goes wrong, because like occasionally I'll be making like the perks or whatever, and I'll melt it in wrong, and then I have to like resize like I'll have half of it started like melted in, and then I have to like make a new perk and resize it to one that's already melted into another piece, and then get it to like match up, which it can take time to really sit there and like back and forth between the hot kiln, cold kiln, and making sure because I want to make sure that the details are the devil's in the details. So like if you're looking at it or another glassblower is looking at it, or even for that matter the customer, like if they're really discerning, they might see some of the things that I'm seeing. So I try to do the best I can to make it as even and clean and all that shit as possible. So there's
Bro,
nothing
I've
like
always, bro, what you just said right there is so key to blowing glass. Like how you said something earlier where you were like, oh shit, I gotta stay on topic right now, otherwise I'm gonna lose it. The devil's in the details is what you said. What I'm telling you is oh, okay. Someone told me this once that how do you know when a piece is done? Like how do you know when you're done with that weld? When you're looking at it as if the consumer is going to be like, dude, you just ripped that piece looking over top of it. Every viewpoint from that point is so important, bro. And that
exactly.
like you were saying earlier, like the biggest lesson you learned in glass was learning something from about shit's breaking, then you fucked it up. You fucked it up. What I'm telling you is someone told me that when is shit done? Like so you're not like, dude, a lot of guys blow welds out so big and bulbous. You're like, dude, you should have stopped like 20 minutes prior. What the fuck were you doing? You know?
There's lines.
Yeah, where you're dude, and it's so funny because like your style of glass is at a point in my young days of being a pipe maker, all I wanted to do was sell my work at a level where people questioned it, how I handled it, because it looked so unhandled. It looked like untouched by a human. And not, that doesn't mean that there's not flaws, but like not bulbous blowout things and weird ass organic.
Actually supposed to flow to what it is.
Yes. So like not only are you doing that, but then within that you have like exact requirements of each component. Dude, that's as impressive as fuck. That's such an I didn't know that about your work. That's very cool.
Thank you.
I thought you were. I would have compared you more to like a Lord, which I'm not saying Lord doesn't do that, but I'm saying he's like an artistic pipe maker. He's one of my favorite glass blowers, bro. Lord is one of my favorite glass blowers. What I'm saying is I would consider you like an artistic pipe maker, where yes, that is what you are, but dude, you're like an engineer of pipes. Like Basso's up there, Ham's up there. Like that's a sector of artists you're trying to be more along the lines of, where like someone myself, like I'm in a bracket of people that current bracket is like a Hindi or a Porter, and then like the higher up is like Elbow, like these like stylistic sculpted characters, where what I'm telling you is you fall more in line with like artistic pipe makers, focusing not necessarily on like functionality is always a focus for everyone that makes functional glass, but you're focusing on like refinement within shape and design, which is impressive, bro.
I appreciate that.
That's super cool. And that's what I'm asking here, like to kind of cap off and get us to like current time. When did that start? Boro Farm? Like, or did you always blow glass with the insight to do that?
Yeah, that actually started before them, because all that started. I would say that's on. I wouldn't go as far as to say like I was using a micrometer or a caliper rather when I was first starting out, because I didn't. You know, like when I first initially started, like
we're like, oh, a mini tube, cool, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, like even the first piston recyclers, because like these are the V2s, the V1s. If you go back to the ones with the legs, which is like when I was.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we made the collabs that we did. And, like I think even what's his name, Jeremiah has. I hope he still have it, but he had one of the collabs at Boro Farm at his shop, the piston with the legs.
He did.
I don't know. I hope he's found a home for that thing at this point. But he had that for a minute, and you know that design. There were certain sizing requirements on that one, but it wasn't quite the same as this. So what I would say, because like it didn't start at Boro Farm quite the same way, although I started thinking more toward that direction. Because like even all right, those two collabs, what's interesting, and I don't talk about it much, but at this point it's cool. Herb actually did a lot of the build on those two collabs. He did things that I normally do for my work. He did, because he at the time, and even like I agreed with him, is like he had the skill. He had the skill way above me, and he knew he could do what I was doing. But what he did is he didn't build the whole piece, but like the pistons, like he installed the pistons the way that he thought that they should be installed. And I then took those two cans and I made the piston and put the donut. You know, I did everything else. I put it together, and I built all their parts for it. I built out the legs. Like we made it a true collab. Like he came into my world essentially and helped me with my world in that. And he also helped me to understand the build of that piece. So those two were actually like that out of all of the pistons that were ever made, the V1s, those two were the best, hands down, because Herb helped me build them. And he had so much more skill level at the time and even in the time I learned a lot about them. But even subsequent ones from that, I had trouble trying to replicate what he did. I do something more similar now because I've gotten like I've leveled up a bit, because I stopped work. I didn't stop making the pistons for a minute. It was like I came back from that trip and I made like I think one more batch of them, and I had a lot of trouble with them when I got home. The legs were especially one of the biggest troubles I ever had with it. I could never, because you and I like we've talked about like being very particular about all the little specifics about like how you want a piece to look. You or I know, or any other glassblower knows how you want it to finish up. So like you get crazed about how it.
Bro, and then it's like even more. You're even more, dude. You're like a cat in the industry. when you're the type of glassblower you are, on top of that, like we're all susceptible to the finished product needing to be a certain way. But when you blow glass with the intellectualness and the like design properties that you do, you're like even more sensitive to.
I have to like. All right, so when you talk about looking down at these things, the first like the V1s, and I mean anybody who owns one could probably. I hope they never. They'll probably see this if they see this and they decide to like look at their piece, they'll see what I'm talking about. But like looking down at them is one of the worst things for me because the legs, I could never get them to sit dead straight because they were. You gotta imagine, all right, it's being connected at an angle, off at an angle, and then they're flat. So the weld has to be done here above a drain without connecting to the drain, and then angle it just right to sit out. And then on top of that, while they're on there, make sure it all sits in fucking sits in levels and everything on the table without the base because it didn't have the bottom at that point. It was to say that they were a nightmare to create to get them to sit straight. Like I'm kind of it's a shocker that as many of them survived as they did. Um, so that like I stopped producing them. I even posted up. I was like, I'm never making them. I'm sorry. Like they're
I
too much.
remember that.
And I was like, I wiped my hands of Pistons altogether.
But that
So
blows my mind. That's what blows my mind because, bro, when you came back and started doing them the way you're doing them now, I still saw you and I was like, oh, here he is making another artsy recycler.
but it was different. All right. So what wound up happening is the pit. It came back because of the Puffco. I needed something for the Puffco.
Okay.
That's really what, like, believe it or not, and I have to. I give
Well,
credit
that
to
you're saying that brought the market. That brought it to be able to
no,
sell it.
that gave me the ability. That gave me the idea. All right, so I wanted to make something for the Puffco, and I have a couple of prototype things that I made. Like I did a ball rig that I did a pass through connection point that actually came out pretty clean, and it like sat into the recess of the connection that I made. I was trying to make something that looked nice, like I didn't want to just make some fucking tube or whatever and make it on there because and I'm not knocking the guys who do that either because people want
Basic
simple.
though, basic.
Yeah, I mean, like that's all good. I get hit up for it all the time. Like I wanted to make something that was not that. I wanted to make top end stuff, but I needed to. I knew it had to look like something that somebody would want to spend that kind of money on, and on top of that, and be invested in it. So, in my process of thought of trying to figure out what I was doing the ball rig at first. I did a couple of different things that were interesting styles, and I started thinking about the piston. And I was like, I had because I have a couple of the old ones in my house, in my stuff. The angle of the piston and the angle of the peak, and I'm like,
perfect.
And it just kind of like dawned on me, and I'm like, all right, how can I change it? What can I add? How can I make this work so that the water flows over? And the donut came into play, where like running over, it had to run up and over the water level, so this way the water doesn't get into the base. So I had to do the up and over, and I didn't want to go like a squiggle around the drain or anything else. So I was like, donut, pass through, so I could do a wormhole donut right through. And one of the biggest things nobody even notices about, like, it's hard to see, but the donuts actually have an angle to them too. Like I go through straight, and then I heat it up again, and I actually I hit the donut. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, show it off.
The angle of the donut, the pass.
Man, that's such a sweet piece too, bro. Is that dichro?
Same angle of what this is. So like, it's not straight through like this. The angle is pushed like this.
Yeah, yeah. Is that crow on there too?
This one is dichro.
You're saying the actual donut itself is pushed at an angle. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it's not, the donut is not circular. It's circular and then heated up and kind of bent.
The donut is circular and flat and angled to this plane, but
yes.
the hole is angled
yes.
to a different plane. So it's like if you were to look at if it was a graph, that's one and that's the other.
Yeah.
So this way, like when I do the drain and I do the blowout, or when I do that connection point and I have to make out the drain, I basically allow myself the space because it's not trying to compete with a donut that's the wrong angle. Plus, the water flows nice and smooth down to the drain the way it's supposed to. So there was a lot of refinement in what happened in that. And when you talk about like the details of where that started, was the Puffco, translating that design to the Puffco. And once I got to that point, I was making those for a while, and it dawned on me and the base of these is, you talk about other people that I'm inspired by. Eric Ross. Eric made these beautiful pieces at one point that were lathe made with a base that was like a big flat base that had the joint on the bottom, and it had a perk that went up, and like the water level was above that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I took that.
I think Pyrology did something like this too.
there were a few people, yeah, but I mean, like I yet again,
Eric
credit
Ross did it first, bro.
yeah, and Eric's the man. I love Eric.
And also, fucking Evil does this too.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that like you can do
It's
like
popular now.
what it does is it brings the piece down because you can put the joint low, really really low, and then you can incorporate because like where the banger sits when you're actually like even this one, the one I don't mind my crusty older banger, but it sits like tucked in, and this is a lot more
God, dude,
chord,
that's so sweet, bro.
you know. So it sits lower. You can actually like look down at your bed at what you're smoking on, and then the water effect is all behind it. So, you know, that's where that kind of came about. I decided
So it's
that
fairly recent, bro. Within the past 2 years, this is what you've been doing is dialing this in.
basically yeah, the V2s have been like the relaunch of them, I guess you could say in some senses. And
God,
I've
what a
only
great time to
and
come
that's
back.
I've only made so many because they take so damn long. So you know, and on top of that, worst case, like something like this, I got this one is my one of my personals. It's a little dirty, so but
And then
this is
it
my new
looks like it
one.
looks like the donut comes down and connects to that sideways like line to like that tube is horizontal, and then those connect to the pistons.
So yeah, the drain comes down from like the water or the pistons right here. You know, you got the pistons right here.
Yep.
Obviously solid at at the base. The smoke or like the joint it connects here, goes through the base, up through the top, in through the donut, and then down into that section where it's cut off into the perks. And the water effect is basically all right here, inside, like into the drain in the back and back up. So the drains are set up to where they're like just below the perk, so it can't really backflow that way. It has to go the direction of the piece
I love
because
it,
the
bro.
in from below. And Purdy, it explains. Funny, another artist mentioned Purdy. One of the trade shows had mentioned something to me, and it's actually based, and I had no idea when I made this, and I really didn't. It's based on a. Oh my god, he told me what it was. If you look at the Purdy cycler, he's got a perk in it that's sealed just like this, and it's like just a tube, and it's a Venturi. Oh, I don't want to butcher it. He'll feel. Oh, man, it's there is a name. There's a name for it. Look at it
A
on Purdy.
Venturi?
Huh? I
Venturi?
think it's I think it's Venturi pump. But
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not.
it. It's a Venturi pump. Sure. You know who used to do this too is Stillwater, the guy that
I
does Oxygen Frog.
butchering things like that because I
No,
know
it's a
people.
Venturi. Scott Oxygen Frog used to do this pipe too. He went by Stillwater Glass. Did you ever know him in Florida?
I Yes, I think I remember him.
Stillwater Glass. It was the most random piece, dude. It was like a little scientific rig with a marble on the perk, but it was designed after a Venturi recycler, which he's super scientific as well. He's crazy.
That's what it is, and that's what Purdy was all about. Like he told me about it, and like he's like, yeah, your piece is just like that, and I like kind of like I did this from a stem line, like and it just happened to be that. And I wasn't, and it's really cool to me that I actually happened
You
to
don't have
discover.
yeah, you're not
I,
your knowledge isn't in fluid dynamics. You're just into engineering and
I
shit.
happened to arrive at something that was
Yes.
very similar to what they do, and I was like, well, that's fucking awesome.
That's cool, bro. That's like if humans could build an alien spacecraft and then we discover, holy shit, we did something right on the edge, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I want to. Yes, that's a very extravagant version of it, and but
No,
yes,
that's what it is, bro. The magic of glass blowing is so astounding to me that like when I see people come up with nothing, I'm like, oh, that's fucking really cool. Like I love the fact that there's like animals that people have made. Like there's a dude that's famous for making drafts, right? That's cool, bro. But what I'm saying is like the medium itself is such a magic and mystery. The medium, just working it. But on the
yeah.
backside of it, to then design something that someone else who is actually educated and trained in it designed, and you're just another fucking pipe maker, dude. That's fucking really cool, bro.
And I'm just doing what I can to try to create something interesting, and it's I with these things I feel like I finally did.
Yeah, dude. You just need to own it now. You need to own that.
I do. I do. I've always been kind of hard on myself for that type of stuff because one of the big things I do believe is that ego can be the death in this business. If you think that you're the best badass motherfucker, you're probably not going to progress. You're going to
I
continue
think I'm
to.
horrible. I think you're horrible too. You're not good.
Well, that's. I mean, yes. You know what, dude? If you're my shop mate, I'm gonna fuck with you a little bit like that
I
because I
think
feel
I think that you have I think you have dude. It's like How many monkeys does it take to screw the light bulb in? I don't know. But the one that screws it in is the smart one. And all I'm telling you is you where you're at now, if you don't brag about the fact that you screwed the light bulb in, no one's going to know that you did it.
Well, I appreciate.
So it's not an ego. You're just cluing people in. I screwed the light bulb in.
And that's, I mean, you know, I created something a little interesting, and I'm proud of it. Is what I'll say. I'm definitely proud of what I've accomplished so far in this game, and
that's your own thing, bro. That's the thing you've made, though, is what I'm saying. In the past, dude, you're almost 10 years in. That's your claim to fame.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fucking sweet, bro. And then explain before we move on to like the raffle and the rest of the shit here. I want you, because you've been showing work. You make a pendant that is a piston, and it's based on like, I thought it was based on like an engine piston.
It is.
Okay,
it is.
but what I'm saying is, but you make that almost as like a play on the fact that you make pistons as, that's the thing. It's like, it's called a piston recycler is what you call it. But that's not really, it's not what's in there functioning.
All right, so no, it doesn't, the piston recycler is not necessarily it's not a functioning piston up and down the way.
Have you done one where the tube has?
No, I have not.
Okay.
You're not the first person. Actually, it's funny. Adrian, I have a drawing that I have hanging up with some stuff. That's Adrian drew me one night while we were all hanging out, because she expressed the same type of interest in that idea, and I think I need a lathe to be able to truly do that in a way that's going to work the way that I think.
Because the thing's moving around, it might slap the wall.
Oh, it's good. Well, that's the trouble. That's like, all right. I mean, here's the thing. An actual piston, which is like what you're talking about. Like,
show these off. Yeah, these are cool, bro. These are so sweet.
This actually moves.
God, I love that. I would love to see that moving when you rip the piece.
If you had that jiggling inside of a piece while it's going up and down like a piston would, because a piston theoretically stays pretty solid, and then the bottom just, that's kind of how it goes, because the cylinder stays. The trouble is that for in an engine you have rings that run around it that line the tube that it's running up and down in. So there's no air travel going around it. So that's what separates like the oil from the gasoline explosion. That's actually how an engine works. The trouble is that if I were to put this into a piece with any kind of, even like, let's say I could put it in cold with some sort of a rubber or plastic like seal there, then I still have to assemble it somehow, and that's the only way it's going to keep it from not banging around like you're talking about. Other than some other options I've thought about that with glass might work, but it's a very tricky like concept to make pistons that, if I were to try to do it, like even if I was like a V2, I'd want them to do that.
Me too.
Oh, dude, like if I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make some. Dude, like, did you ever see the quad that I had? Did you ever see the V4 that I made?
No.
On my posts?
No.
When you get a moment, look on my page.
I'll go look right now. I actually was looking at your recycler a second ago when you were holding the 5 mil, and I was like, damn, I would love to see like 2 of those connected together.
Look at the quad.
That's what I'm thinking you're telling me to look at right now.
That's yeah. Look at the quad. It was a V. I called it a V4.
Okay, how deep do I have to go into this?
It's only a couple. It's only a little bit down.
Oh wait, is the first post? No.
No.
Damn, these are so sweet.
Hang on.
If you guys haven't already, let me make sure clear everybody. If you haven't already, go check out who we're interviewing right now. It's Nib Glass. His Instagram is at, I'm going to write it down in the comments here, at @nib_glass. Oh shit.
There's actually a video that I posted of it. And this was a little bit bigger.
Bro, when I look, you realize that you're trying to like, I hate to say it, bro, I'm being your homie right now. I think you're fighting the wrong battle on Instagram. Like, I look at every time I've looked, oh, that's insane, bro. Okay, let me get to it. Shit, bro. How far down is that? Jesus.
You find it?
No, man.
I'm sorry. Man.
Crazy how far down that you got. You got a lot of work here, bro.
Well, there's a lid cycler. It's on the left side of the page.
Oh, I see it. Wow. Okay. So you're calling the can. You're calling the cans the actual perk.
Yeah, it is the perk.
Love that.
It's just like a piston. If you think about it, it's just like a piston in a cylinder, in an engine cylinder. It just doesn't move. But like the very first ones, the V1s, had Like I shaped out the top, like the perk was more of like a waffle shaped perk that almost it was intended to be kind of more like a piston inside of a cylinder. I just kind of reverted back to like the when I went to the 10 mils, I couldn't make that kind of style of perk. It just didn't fit, so I went with this. So the name stuck, but you know I've simplified the perks on them. But that is a quad. That was the first quad that I did. I have not done one since, but now that I've done the 5 mil and I have done the mini 10 mils with I've downsized. Like, all right, so the main difference between the 10 mil or the mini 10 mil and the 10 mil. So let's say I didn't really even get into that at all, but the 10 mils are made on very specifically 19 millimeter tubing diameter. Like it's 19 millimeter diameter with 11 millimeter hand uptakes, and most of the tubing and the plumbing and the perks and everything is 11 millimeter. The micro or the mini 10 mils are downsized. I did 17. It was like 16 and a half or 17. Nine, and it's all 9.5. So all of the plumbing and tubing and the mouthpiece, like all of the
Yeah,
everything.
you have to because you went more, you had to downsize the tubing around it.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
everything drops down for the 10 mil, and the 5 mil is even more. So the 5 mil, I had to like hand pull down all the perks and the tubing. That thing's down to like I think I did 13. I think it was like a 13 millimeter cans and like 7 millimeter perks or some shit like that. They're small. That thing
Bro,
is really
bro,
small.
you hang out with artists and you live in Florida, and I'm telling you, I'm looking at your page, bro, and I've known you for long enough, and we came up in the same generation of glassblowers. Like you're in the age of glassblowers that would have came up in the generation of like the early 2000s, but you actually came up with like the 2011ers. Okay,
Because
we
and you know that's the weirdest thing is if you go back to like what I talked about with the guy that I saw blowing glass when I was 16. Had I not been dissuaded from it initially by some of the friends and things like that, had I gone out and pursued
you would
what
have been in that generation.
was, I may have. I mean, I could have gone out to Oregon, but honestly, I wasn't. There's two reasons, or a couple of reasons. Number one, I probably wasn't. I definitely wasn't brave enough at that time to just leave. Like not like I was when I went out. Finally, when I did, and the one thing I'd say to anybody young is don't make that mistake.
Yeah,
If you
take the risk, take the chance.
Yeah, if you feel the risk, if you feel if you feel the drive for that, go for it. But at the same time, I know that me at that time, now looking back, like I was not receptive to a lot of these things. And honestly, had I gotten into it at that time, I might have been so far out of it at this point that it might not, like I may have been one of the guys that was like in and out of it after 10 years. Like I don't know. So I'm glad that I got in when I did, how I did with the experience level of all the other things in life that I did. It's what has, I think, made me the glass blower that I am. Um, I don't know that I would have been this. I don't know what I. Who knows? Like it's one of
There's
those.
no way in hell you would have been the same person you are now. But what I'm
No,
telling you is you may have like stumbled into something. You may have stumbled into something, dude.
like, who knows who I would have been worked with at this point and everything else. There's a lot of what ifs in life, I suppose.
What I'm telling you is though is that it's very. This is why I'm even bringing this up. It's very obvious on your, and I'm just giving you my viewpoint here. It's very obvious that when I look at your page and when I look at your work, bro, I haven't even shown this off yet. I actually, what did I do with that marble, bro? I had that marble literally like, oh, dude, that must have been. That's so funny.
Fans out there too.
Bro, it's so funny. I had yeah, thank you for rocking the Pindy, bro. Thank you for rocking the Pindy. It's oh here it is. Bro, I heard something roll on the ground earlier and I was like, what was that? I couldn't find it. It's the marble. Okay, so you made this marble and gave this to me at a trade show like a year or two ago. Sweet marble. It's got an opal like way down in it. But like you obviously and I looked at your work for years, bro, and I've known you for years. It's very hard to be an artist in this generation and not want to be recognized as an artist. That's hard. Like, and not necessarily for an ego, but for business.
No,
For business.
no. Yes. Here's the thing. There are times that I know that my work is probably of the same caliber of a lot of the people that are in that level, and I do feel that, like like anybody else, you have your ups and your downs, but because of every single, and Chad and me and Chad have talked about it too. Um, I made choices in my early life that led me to where I am, and that's kind of why I lie where I do, because all of their experience built them up to this point where a lot of the relationships I'm just now building at this point are they built years and years ago at school, you know.
Oh,
Um,
you're talking about the artistic relationship. Okay, no, very. I just want to be as clear as I can.
and the reason I say that is because like that it's not just a relationship with other artists, it's the relationship with the industry. It's the relationship with
I'm saying,
being.
bro, you're on a whole nother level. You're on a whole nother level. What I'm telling you is like you need to not relate yourself to the industry, bro. Your work, like I'm telling you, what I'm trying to be as clear as I can here. When I look at your page, I look at someone who is trying to fit in with this industry. But your work is, dude, like I'm not telling you it's that you're better. It's not that you're better. It's that
I'm
you're
just.
in your own boat.
That I can appreciate. Yeah,
Like
that's not.
fuck it, dude. Fuck looking like anybody else. Your shit is on its own level, bro.
Well, thank you.
I'm not
I
saying that your work looks like anybody else, but what I'm saying is your presentation of your work can't look like everyone else's because it's so fucking unique. By making your page sell like famous people on Instagram, or by making your Instagram look like artists in the glass game, you're blending in, bro. Your shit is so fucking unique. You need your own.
Whereas like the shirt design.
The shirt is such a good way to like clue dumbasses in. Like, hey, dumbass, I'm really smart. Dude, you're gonna catch smart people, but
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I just look at your work. Like I've looked at your work for years, and I see you fall back into the scoop of like being a pipe maker and making like full colored work or like a Sherlock or a mini tube. But bro, when I look at your design and your like specific detail and shit, like I love this marble, bro. But holy fuck, bro, I want one of these recyclers now that I actually know what the fuck I'm looking at.
We can talk. We can certainly figure something out, man.
Sure, of course we can. But what I'm saying is on a real level, bro. Man, they're crazy, bro. And I had no clue how smart you were.
I'm flattered, dude. I appreciate that.
But well, it's because I'm looking at your work, blending it with a bunch of fucking random glass artists, dude.
But it's still glass. It's still art. It's still a production. I mean, it's still a piece that I produce. I mean, like I don't want to put myself above it, or
it's not that you need to put yourself above. You need your own lane, bro.
We're definitely rowing different lines, I suppose. There's no question about that because my introduction to all of this has been so vastly different than everybody else's.
Most people are either one or the other. You're like right in the middle, dude. You're like right in the middle, and that's such a weird place to be.
I love pipes, dude, and like I still love the collection of it. I still love making things that are just regular fumed whatever's. Like there's a love-hate relationship with these piston recyclers because of how technical and how much I go through with these things. There's a lot of times I really don't even like making them, and I love the end product and everything else, but the struggle of making them at times. That's why I step back and I do other things that are like even the pendants or look, I've got a case full of slides that are going to be heading out to the shop that are ranging from colors with a color handle that I made like a little simple handle on, but they're four hole slides. They're cleanly done, and I have like some that have full color ground joints on them and stuff like that. Like I did the gamut for this guy because that's what's on my price list at this point. Because to me, if I can break up my days and do like some of the days are really technical and techy and get into all that, but then I can still bring in the things that are like art, just regular glass stuff. Now at the same time, like I've had people tell me that I should probably focus more just on the pistons and kind of cut out a lot of the other things.
You should do whatever you want.
And that's kind of where I roll, because at the same time, whatever, like the last couple of days I've been making bubble caps and slides, and to be quite honest, like I don't have a whole lot to worry about. One of them came out, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like that too much. I think I'm gonna remake it, and I'm remaking it, and like that's the end of it. There's not like a whole fucking two days wasted on a piece that all of a sudden like there's a chip and a perk, and I can't sell this piece. Which has like the one that I showed you with the North Star Yellow and the like this one. The whole reason this is here, all right. And you want to talk? By the way, Spooky, thank you very much for the comment. And like I'm trying to be candid as I can with you guys.
Is this on your page? That one right there, because that one is so sweet, bro. What color is that?
No, this one has not been posted. This one is sitting in my. This one is just made this past couple of weeks. It's
Spooky. Thanks for the love, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody posting and commenting. I'm sorry we've been getting really into this, but I hope I know it looks like you guys are appreciating it, so I thank you. It's Karma over white and the North Star yellow.
God, I thought it was like telemagenta, like way weirdly struck.
It's the camera probably too. Is a little bit. And then it's got another. It is a molten ore color. It's gold amethyst for the lippies and stuff like that. So I wanted to make it really kind of like poppy in a certain color scheme, which is the yellows and reds and stuff like that. So it turned out really good that way. But the second day, I went through all the process of sizing. I have to size the tubing to the 19 mil. I have to size the 11 mil for the uptakes. I have to size everything out for this piece into bigger sections and cut them down. I go through all that process, and I make the perks. I put them together. I've got the donut on it. I've got the whole midsection done, and the foot's even made. And I had the sections prepped out for the top. And I come out the next day and I look at it, and the perk has a crack.
Mm.
You're not gonna be able to see it on
It's
the
in
camera.
the saw cut. It's in the saw cut.
It's above the saw cut where I did the weld on it. It just happened to like get a little bit of a slice, and it hasn't broken off. It's still there. I can see it. You know what I'm saying? But like to me, that right there is an immediate no. You know, I can't
Of
pop a hole where it is
course.
and weld it or anything else. There's nothing I can do. It would look off immediately. So this becomes I finished it because I still had it halfway finished, but I had all the parts already made. So I was like, well, I guess I got a new piece.
Are you telling me though that type of a failure is so deep in the build that you can't go back?
If I had more of the colors on hand, I might have been able to. Like at that point, I hadn't connected. When I saw it, I had everything in the middle made, but not connected to the foot yet. So had I in that moment had more enough of the color, enough of the I didn't have enough of the Karma over white is what the biggest thing was. I had very limited amounts of that color, and when I went to put it together, like if I could have rebuilt this, I would have done it. You know what I'm saying? I would have just like tossed what I had, kept the good foot, replaced all of the basically where the problem is. I would have replaced it because I can't take off one. Once this is all put together, I can't take off one of these.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm
Yeah.
asking, is that piece a piece that eventually gets you boxed in?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. There's like a point after, and the worst part about the full color ones is that there's like a 2 day. It's usually about the 2 day mark. It happens. And when you're working on two pieces and one of them does it, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's definitely, you know. So,
Bro, if you
thankfully,
believe, bro, I'm being your homie here. I'm being your homie. If you believe
yeah,
in that piece, I'm telling you, I'm someone who can push a motherfucker to believe in themselves harder than they ever have. I believe in that piece, bro. But I'm telling you, it's very obvious. There's no way in hell you could produce that on a large scale. Like it needs to be produced as like,
wait, if I can, and I'm working toward that. I have some things that I have to once I get these orders, I have to actually get back out of the house again, which means setting up a new studio and all that type of stuff. So I have unfortunately things that are like on my list of to dos of how to get to where I want to be. Um,
yeah, where do you want to be?
what do you mean live? Like where I'm going to
No,
live?
no,
Where
no.
else?
Like what I'm telling you. I'm asking you. 2021. We're going into 2021. Where do you want to be with this design?
I need to play. I'd like to be back out of this house. Um, for their sake and my sake alone too. It's gone on for far too long at this point. But thankfully, they're very my folks are great, and I love them, and they're good people. But they need their space as much as I need mine. And we work well. Like it's good that I live. And they're nice enough to let me be here, and they have the space. But I need my own. So I'm working on that. That's the biggest issue is get back out and doing that. This has been to be able to balance all of that with the traveling and all that. It's been tricky, but it's gonna have that's all lining up with these couple of things I have lining happening. And once I decide how that's gonna look, because I still don't know where I want to go. That's the bigger trouble,
Oh, you're trying to
I,
move potentially out of Florida.
there's a lot of things that I've considered doing, and obviously, like this past year of 2020, with all of it, has been put a big old hitch in all of it. The beginning of the year, like actually shortly, like right after Glassroots last year, 2020 or in 2020, right before all the COVID hit and everything else happened. My intention was that I was basically coming back from Vegas and I was planning to move to Orlando. Like I had that kind of all lined up. And as soon as the COVID thing started happening and like the immediate shutdowns and people stopped, started like some of the shops. I had a few shops like straight up cancel orders that I had finished, and they came back and bought them later. But like I threw a lot of monkey wrenches in the whole process of what was going on there, and it's taken me a minute to kind of catch back up a little bit. But thankfully, as soon as like around August, I know like other people have talked about it. Like there's been this upswing of the industry and buying and everything else. So it's been fantastic that way, and I've been able to almost overwhelming how much has been coming in. So there's a lot of things
You're
happening.
saying production bullshit wise.
Yeah, you know how it goes, man. There's always something like it kind of like it threw a few kinks in the line how it was all going to transpire this past year, but it's all happening very shortly. And when I have to decide if like Orlando kind of the dynamic up there seems to be potentially changing a little bit. Not badly. I'm not sure
Is there a
what I
glass
want.
scene there?
There's a great glass scene up there. The guy, everybody up there's awesome. There's all the guys that work. Orlando Glass Union is owned by this guy Cam. He also owns Florida Borough
Oh, I
Supply.
know
So
Cam. I know Cam.
and he has like the OGU is like on the same campus basically as Florida Borough Supply now. So like you can walk out of that studio, go get your color supplies, and walk back in. So like the spots there are
Does it
really
look
really.
like Does it look like Zen?
I have never been to Zen.
What's the
As,
vibe of Orlando Glass Union? It's like a warehouse where people rent.
as shameful as it is for me to say, I've never been to Zen, and I feel very bad for
Do
not
people
being.
just rent in a warehouse? Is that what it is?
100%. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. They just had the taffy class, and like I made a comment to Cam, like he did hibachi for everybody cooking
Cool.
because like they did, like oh yeah, he does like Cam really
No,
does
he's
a
a
great
baller,
job
dude.
there. So, like, so he's been basically one of the best managers of a shop I've seen personally. That I've had my personal experiences with.
Yeah, because he doesn't
Uh,
blow glass. He just runs the shit and goes home.
he runs the business of the shop.
Yes.
He also runs Florida Borough Supply, and like he's
He
not.
comes out here. When I used to work at a group studio out here, he would come out here and buy color from those line tubing guys out here.
Yeah, well, he had it. I've seen. I think I may have even bought a little bit of it. I think I bought some of the Dichro stuff that he brought back at
Nice.
some point. So he's definitely Cam is a good dude, and he runs the shop well. The dynamic in the shop is really good. Strawberry's good people, like all like whatchamacallit. It's a list of glass blowers. If you go to Orlando Glass Union, all of the guys on that list are good people, and you should be following them. Anybody else who's following me and everything else, they're all good dudes, and I've been considering moving up there. There's also the fact that like he's kind of filling up in some ways, like it's becoming a prime spot. So, whether or not they would line up, and also I'm not sure. I'm to be quite honest, after the shop experience at Marley's, I'm still very wary about getting into a shop with a whole bunch of people. It can be very distracting at times, and trying to run a business out of that can be tough. And they
Once
all
you have it, once you have a design, if you have the balls to run with it, you don't want to go to a group studio.
That's kind of what it turns into. Is that like I've been struggling with the debate about that. I love the guys up there, and I've really considered working with them, but at the same time, I think that it might not necessarily be at the moment what I need. When a year ago that was the plan, is what I was gonna do that, but I've been I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Part of me wants to move closer to Orlando, but try to find like a house that I could rent in like an offbeat area that has a garage that I could have like my whole space set up, whatever else. And then part of me really wants to get out of Florida because I don't. Like the summers here are freaking rough, man, for doing what we do. So, my production level goes down so much during the summer when it gets hot like that. Like I have an air conditioner right next to me, and even with that, like some of the tube pulls that I have to do get tough. Like my hands are sweating within 2 seconds of being outside, let alone when I'm trying to hold a blow tube spinning, 3 pounds of glass. So it's it depends on the time of year, and that's why I'm very considering moving out of Florida still. But yeah, like I said, man, this year's been with everything. I I haven't known exactly what to think. Plus, the world has had me on a number of different other trains of thought. So, exactly where my plan's going. I wish I could give you a better, clearer answer at the
You're
moment. But
just surviving as a glass blower.
yeah, it's like that's literally. I know that there are certain goals that I have to achieve very shortly, which are in works. And I don't want to get into the specifics of it because it's just what it is. But I am definitely lining it up. It's just life's living.
But then you're saying the piston is like a personal pleasure that also pays the bills sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, like if it they've been paying the bill. Like I've got there are. Let's see. I didn't even do the count for you, but there's 4, 6,
But you're a hardworking pipe maker, and you can guarantee your money off pipes.
I think there's 8 or 9 of them. No, there's not that many.
What very quickly, what I'm saying is even though you're doing these piston recyclers just on the side, they obviously are making money. I'm not saying they're not making money. You guarantee money by making classic American-made heady production.
I definitely, for the time that I put into them, generally speaking, and the amount that I sell them for, yes.
That's awesome.
There is definitely this is fine. This is a product that where I've been able to push it to, and like the price point most days, most weeks, I'm covering my hours. Is what I'll say. It's kind of I'm bad. Like that's the other thing I really have to do a little bit better on. I don't I recommend anybody getting into this to have if you're going to do it business wise, have a good accountant. Thankfully, my mother is an accountant, so she can help me out with all that type of stuff. I've had a little bit of good instruction with that type of thing. It's like I'm actually, I mean, I'm sure you are too, but like I'm an LLC. You have
LLC S corp, baby.
that's exactly right.
Paid
You got to make sure.
employee and president.
Hey, you got to make sure you've got your T's or
And I got an
dot your
employee. I love
I's,
that, dude.
cross your I's, as I like to say.
I'm telling you, you're in such a good spot to be right now. I know it sounds scary, especially to say that, but with all the shit going on in the world, you're in such a good spot to be able to choose if you want to like brand yourself and take on this like merchandisable design where you can say like, hey, I'm known for this thing and I sell shirts and stickers and fucking stupid shit. But you're also in a spot where you could survive for the rest of your life, bro. Like my brother taught me that originally was like how to make $10 for the rest of your life, dude. And you can do that as well, which is like so fucking key to being a good glass blower.
Listen, man. Part of me, I still have this like. I see all these guys that are building out school buses. Part of me still wants to do a van. Like,
Oh,
go back
dude,
down
who
the
just
road.
did that? Brian Jacobson.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, there's a few different artists that have done it. Like, I just saw somebody recently post up one that he's been building out for his year, and he actually has like one of the handicap setups with like a fold out table so that he can like just sit there out of his house and blow glass wherever he is.
Okay, okay.
Like,
The Brian Jacobson's is a short bus, and he has the back door with a table blowing out of the table.
You can do this. I think maybe it was the same one. It looked like it was the side. Maybe we're watching the same video, and I'm like, yeah. But there are ways of doing it that theoretically you don't have to work there the whole time, but you could certainly like if you're on the road, you're at the right campsite or whatever else, and it's safe enough, you could sit there and make a few pipes and go to a store and sell them and have gas money the next.
You enjoy that. You enjoy that.
I think I could. I think I could. It's a hard, like at the same time, it's a tough life. That couple of months on the road, like I wasn't even on the road that long by myself, but even the time on the road, like there's a lot of things to consider about doing something like that because you're self-sustaining at that point. So, Dosh is a great person to watch for that. Like he has,
right.
Like that dude. I actually have. So actually, you know what?
He's one of my favorite glass blowers too. A lot of people feel weird about him, bro. I love his ass. Oh, that's sweet.
I might as well go ahead and premiere your videos here since I haven't posted them. I have to actually do a lot more posting about these pendants, but
well, it's part of the brand. I feel like you almost need to like design this, not to design this, but dude, show this brand off, bro. I don't know what you call it, piston glass. That's what it's called, dude, piston glass.
You see what that is on there now?
Yeah, it's his fucking sick ass flip section, bro. It's a cut and flip section of his fume,
yeah.
Bro. I'm telling you,
I did the fume for the handles, but yeah. So I've been meaning to post these things up, and actually, like, I need to do some auctions with him potentially, whatever else. He knows about them. I just haven't had the chance. I maybe like just send them outside. I've been considering just sending him 2 of them and deciding how to handle it, but I've been so consumed with all this other stuff that these things have been hanging on my case. And yeah, I'm really proud and happy that he gave me the opportunity to make these. He's a really hell of a
bro. Your work is impressive as fuck, dude.
He's inspirational in that sense of like what he does with like the traveling and everything else, man. Like he lives that nomadic lifestyle, and I there's something to that especially on that Oregon trip. Like, dude, I living in the van down by the river, as Chris Farley once said, doesn't sound so bad to me sometimes.
No, dude, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, but there's also I also have stuff from years of being.
Me too.
Earth. So there's a lot of logistics to making something like that happen. So when you ask me what the future holds, like I'm still on the fence of a number of different factors, So that's where we're at.
Okay, so you're figuring it out, but at least right now you're on the edge of like claiming a piece in a design.
Sure. Well, listen, man, these pistons are 100%. I can say are mine, and like I said, I don't mind if anybody decided they wanted to try to make one. Like, be my guest. I'd love to see.
Well, no, it's not even that I think someone would make one. I think where we would be as artists, we would be bothered if someone like ripped the piston uptake idea. But where I'm at here, bro, there's no way in hell anyone is even gonna step into the ring to dial in the schematic structure of your build.
Not quite the way that this is.
No one's stepping in, bro. It's just you.
Themselves through what I go through to do this, and I don't blame them for even a second, because there are days that I consider like, what are you doing?
Well, with someone like that was.
Here's the thing: I love the design itself I love it. I do love it, and I smoke out of one on a regular basis, like you saw. Like I have 2 of them now. I had one I have an old one of the original like the ones, and I have a few like I usually keep the jank ones or the crap, the ones that have a break or something. It's not that's not right. So, but now I have two of them, and I use them on a regular basis in my rotation. Like I believe in the piece. I
It
really
would be
do.
my main piece now that I know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Well, hey, listen, man.
Bro, if you put
he may need a buddy, so
we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a trade. That's no big deal. Of course, we'll figure out a trade. What I'm saying is when you look at your work, bro, and it's funny because I listen to a lot of like alien talk and shit, and the Bob Lazar story has me like lit as fuck for the past like 2 years, bro. Where I'm telling you straight up, bro.
Is that the guy who like got who worked for like the
Yes,
government or
yes,
whatever?
he worked on the base and shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
he describes a lot of he gives a lot of God, I'm trying to use the word here. I don't know. I'm not very like smart on this word here, but like words in general, bro. He uses this as like a like he describes this in a way the same way I'm describing your piece right now. It would be like if someone like dropped your piece, bro, in ancient times, bro. They're not gonna know unless you explain it to them. Your piece is too advanced. Or like
I'll tell you one thing. They damn sure would have water in the base.
yeah, they'll figure out how to put water in it, and they might be ripping it weird, you know.
Well, every single person they've ever seen do it wrong puts water in the puck on the bottom. Like that's the one thing that like it's not necessarily wrong because hell, like, if you want to put water in there and restrict the flow a little bit, it'll still bubble a little as it like flows across the top of the can there. But that's a dry catch. Like the intention of that is so that as you're smoking, especially concentrates, it catches in there, and you don't. It keeps the water a little bit cleaner, not 100%. Like your water's still gonna get. It's such a small chamber. The water gets pretty filthy pretty quick. I keep mine pretty clean on a regular basis because they're not exactly like a very water voluminous piece. But at the same time, um, that bottom chamber does not necessarily like.
Yeah, what you're telling me you're used to seeing people use the thing
I
wrong.
guarantee that shit will be filled.
Man, that's almost in the diagram. In the diagram, it almost needs to have like an arrow pointing at
Water level. I'll put a water level on there.
And it needs to be like just like people will be like, why is he not having it in the bottom? And people will be like, dude, come on, dude. What the fuck? You don't put it in the bottom.
You know what? Actually, I do actually like the idea of that.
Read the instructions, dude.
Well, I've been meaning to get. Me and Adrian have talked about it. She actually, I can have. I want to have her draw me up something pretty.
She's
cool.
a great illustrator. Be a great person to illustrate that.
Yeah, she does. She did Kyle's stickers and stuff like that too. She doesn't have a lot of time for it, but like for friends, she has occasionally she has a chance. And we've talked about I just have to get over there and sit down with her and actually have her like sit there and draw it up. But basically, I want to have like a sideways view of it so that I can have a 2D like what you're talking about the schematics. But I just need to be able to take this and like flatten it at that like 3/4 view angle basically.
Yeah.
And once I do that, I want to do that. And I want to do the piston pendant too. I want to have a piston stickers that are made up with my logo and stuff like that. And do a little. That's actually what's next. That's actually the next on one of the few things on the list is those two items were already on there. But now I think with what you're talking about, I really like that. I
feel like your brand. I feel like you as a glassblower is Nib Glass. Like that's you making progress in life as a glassblower. Where like I'm telling you, this piston thing is like it's been you for the past 4 or 5 years. I get it, bro. But I'm telling you, it's a whole different name, dude. It needs to be something else, bro, like on its own. I don't know what the fuck you'd call it, but.
Hey, man, I have no problem taking the initials and turning it into something bigger. Like, we've talked about before you explained to me what you did with Lerk and everything else and where this came from. And, the evolution of seeing the evolution of where that's come from for you has been really awesome, too. What you've been able to build with it. So I definitely, I hear what you're saying. And it's not necessarily, like, I've always considered that to be a possibility of the moniker, so to speak. I think that's the right word for that.
Like but, you're saying use Nib Glass as Nib Glass and then have this thing as this branded item that you make.
Well, no, not necessarily. Like all encompassing, Nib Glass would not necessarily like Lerk is the character necessarily, but Nib Glass like is the company. Like people already see me, they hit me up online and like even though my Instagram says Nib Glass Nick and like I don't say anybody or a team or anything else, it's just Nick. I get hit up all the time like you guys make the best stuff.
Bro,
like,
your shit looks like it's a group of people.
And that's what they expect. Like, and they're very generally people are surprised when, especially the wait time that I have at the moment, things like that, because I'm one person trying to do the thing and make it happen, and it's been tricky. I almost like if I had the shop space, I could potentially like a lathe would be a big thing because a lot of the prep work it takes a lot of the time is like making the connection between 11 mil and 15 or 11 mil and 9 and the 19 mil looking that squared off and clean like a lathe would. Where if I do it by hand with like the way my hands move and everything, like some days it's smooth and I can do a bunch of them in one run and they're all nice and clean. Other days I struggle to get the first 10 of them and they don't look quite right, and I have to kind of like throw either toss them or whatever else because I want them. I want to make sure like the wall weight's right at the connection and everything else. If I did that on a lathe, I mean, you're talking about connecting two pieces, come in with a handle, cut off, done, and I could have miles of those things prepped out theoretically, and then come back by hand and put them together. So there's certain aspects to having, even if I could get like a Linton F, the little ones, like the benchtop ones that don't have to do anything big, but just do like certain things of prep on there. That would be majorly like I'd be able to up the production level a lot, which I will move toward, and at that point, who knows, like it'll look a lot cleaner for sure. It would be a lot of the same.
God, they're so clean, bro.
Yeah, it would just step it up in even another notch as far as I'm concerned.
I love your work, bro. I'm glad. Thank you for talking with us.
Sure.
Thank you for talking with us. It's been 3 hours now, bro.
Yeah, I tend to talk a little bit when I go off, so we should.
No, it's fine. Thank you for talking with us. I appreciate it. And there's 15 people in here right now. We had a total of like 19, but to sum it all up, this is where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm here still making pistons, working my tail off. I've got a big order getting ready to head out to New York City Gifts. They will be getting, like I said, it's like eight pistons altogether.
New York City Gifts?
Yeah.
Bro, I went to that smoke shop. They have like 5 or 10 of them, maybe.
What are you talking about?
He's in New York, and he's got like 5 or 10 of them.
Yeah, he hit me up, and he put in a pretty sizable order.
Holy shit, bro! I've been to a New York City Gifts. It's a smoke shop. It's called NYC Gifts.
Yeah, I've been to one of them. I know, like my cousins live in the city, so like I went to one years and years ago, and I can't imagine that he knows me from that. But he found me online and hit me up, put this big order. So that's gonna be the next bait. There's a big batch of these pistons and 2 can recyclers and some slides and bubble caps, all heading to them. Next after that, I've got one going to another order going to Marley's, so they'll be getting a little bit of a restock at the West Palm store. I've got Ziggy's Miami. They put in. I've got a few pieces I got to make for them. I mean, Big Al's hit me up a while ago. I got to hit him back up, and I have a list of shops that are like want to get more at this point, thankfully. And Proper Pipe put in another large order, so Orlando will have another giant round of stuff here coming soon. I'm just working, plugging away, and trying to do the best I can to make the best stuff I can for the people that support me.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. That's where I'm at.
Hell yeah, bro.
And waiting for the divine connection to decide where my arrow's gonna point.
Do you think you're gonna?
I will find my own path here in a minute. I've been kind of a little wobbly and just focusing on work because that's what's important right now. So.
I know it's hard to say, but do you think that this next move is gonna be like a final move for you? I mean, are you someone that sees yourself moving on and forever?
No. I mean, like I said, if I do the van thing, I mean, it could be, that could be for a while, and then eventually find a spot that I want to kind of like settle down to. I don't know, man. I'm kind of open to, being untethered, romantically or anything like that. I have the ability to do whatever the hell I want to do in some ways. The biggest concern I have right now is I have a cat who's 17 years old who I don't want to leave. I don't necessarily want to leave on my parents, even though they've offered numerous times. I just, he's very he's the one thing I can't take him on the road. So part of me is that's a consideration at the moment. Past that, I don't know, man.
That's fucking cool, bro. A lot of people right now are trying to buy houses and shit. You're cool to be moving around and being nomadic.
At 40, it's an interesting prospect.
That's why I'm asking, because you're at a point in your life where most people would be laying it down, and dude, I'm fucking saying run it, bro. I'm cool getting an RV and rolling hard.
I've taken so many different paths to get to where I'm at now that I'm not sure. Like, I need to find a freaking actual path, and I'm sure people will,
Well, it sounds like you just need to find a place that you like more than Florida.
Yes. That's one of the biggest concerns, I think, at this point, is to not have to, yeah. Florida has become. It's not bad, man. I love
Florida is not bad,
and there's things, but like the heat. After so many years being down here, I think I'm just ready for. I'd love to be in the mountains. I'd love to be able to go, hiking more and things like that.
I really think that there's an attitude. I think there's an attitude that comes about being in such a vast, like a largely sized place. Like when you look at the mountains and you're like, holy shit, that's so much bigger than me, it gives you something more than being in Florida.
Yes.
Looking at pine trees and oak trees.
When I was when I was up in Colorado, the first time I had ever driven over the mountains was the most incredible thing I've ever done. Like I have a friend that lives out in Rifle, so I went from Denver and I drove out to Rifle, and that drive is, man, for a Florida man, it's just like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, dude.
I'm driving like this the whole way.
Yeah.
And like, what am I doing? Oh man, oh, back to the road. Oh shit. And people are like flying by me, and I'm like, I'm going down a hill.
Yeah, the speed limit's like 65, but people are doing like 90.
Yeah, it was wild. But I actually did catch up to speed a little bit after a minute doing it. And toward the end of the road trip, I was natural in the hills and the mountains and stuff.
That's awesome, bro.
I loved it. It was that. Whenever I'm kind of like not sure what to do, like I do know that's one thing I'd really want to do again is go back out traveling, because it's so beautiful in our country, man. There's so much to see.
I think it's good to be in a place. I think it's good to be in a place where you can get around everywhere. And I think where you're at in Florida is hard.
Dude, it takes me 6.5 hours to get out of the state.
Yeah, that's my point.
And then I'm just in Georgia, man. Georgia is almost get through too.
Yeah.
There's no like that. That was and even coming back here too. It's like the weirdest thing. It was like, that's the biggest thing about the trip, and we can kind of get toward the end of this, but a lot of the trip was when I came back home. It was like when I drove over the Florida border, it was like instantaneously, like it was a difference in feeling. It was like shit, and then I knew I had another 7 hours of thinking like that until I got home, and it was more about just getting back to the end of that trip and everything else, which was a very polar opposite of the fact that when I drove into Oregon. The minute I drove, it was really hot the entire trip out, and then the minute I got to the border of Oregon, it was like a freaking breath of fresh air, man. I drove like through the border, and I had my windows open, and all of a sudden it was like the trees just.
Yes, dude.
Forest, room, and drove through like it was amazing.
I love that feeling, bro. I felt that coming into Colorado as well when I moved out here.
There's a lot of that in Colorado. Yes, every time I've been to Colorado, like especially the first couple times I came to Colorado, I got that a lot. And then when I went to Oregon, it was like a freaking bombardment. There's something about being in the wild of it, and I need more of that in my life.
Yeah, bro.
I'm gonna figure that out. I just haven't quite exactly decided how that's gonna shape up.
Hell yeah.
So, just focusing on working and getting as much of my work out there as possible, trying to refine the process so that I can make it completely viable for myself, and in
a way that you're happy.
Yes.
Homie Cody Meyer actually commented, he said, do what you believe, bro. I believe that too. You should do what you believe in.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That's awesome, bro. Well, yo, let's
all the comments and everything. You guys have been great.
Yeah, bro. Everybody's been great. Thank you guys for chilling. It's been a long one. There's people eating Whataburger and shit, bro.
Is there anything anybody wants to ask while
yeah, does anybody have any questions? Any sort of questions? If nothing pops up in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to move forward into the raffle as our plan. And we're picking one ticket tonight. But mad love to everybody. If you guys don't have a question, just say thanks for chilling or whatever. You're welcome or whatever. Some shit. I don't know, dude. Say something in the comments that shows us. Here we go. Thank you both for an excellent interview. Awesome night. Yo, Spooky, thank you for chilling, bro. If you guys haven't already, go add Nib Glass. It's at Nib, NIB_glass. Go check him out. The dude has a variety of work. To summarize who you are as a glass artist, you are a pipe maker. You have a specific item that you make that you're branded and known for, and it's that recycler, the piston recycler, and that pendant. But you also, dude, you can make someone a slide with your name on it.
Yes and no. Yes, I can. The custom list, I don't do a lot of customs, and I will say that right now. I tend to be, because of the timeliness of how long these things take, I tend to stay away from some of the simple stuff like that. And it's not out of disrespect for anybody, although sometimes I do. I will make things like that, but I do occasionally try. So, yeah, why don't you go ahead and do what you got to do with the raffle.
Thank you guys for chilling, bro. We're about to do this raffle, and we're going to let Nib go so he can either get back to work or go sleep, one of the two. So, thank you guys for chilling. I'm probably going to go crash after this. Honestly, homie said Whataburger. I wish we had a Whataburger out here. I would go get a Whataburger.
I had actually a good meal of chicken, what was it? Penne alla vodka before
Fire. I would have gone with Whataburger, honestly, if there was one out here, but there's not one, dude.
We don't have one here either. We've got a couple of different good burger joints though.
What did I hit,
got,
bro? I had a Euro.
I have some secret spots around here too.
Fuck yeah. Dude, I want to come down there. I play airsoft.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some places around.
Bro, the biggest one in Florida that you want to go to is right by you. It's called Miami Airsoft.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to go there. I'm going to come down there soon.
I've never done it before, so, you know.
Okay, it's literally like we're playing Call of Duty in real life.
It'd probably be funny to see my big ass running across the field.
There's a lot of big dudes that play.
I'm down. Like, well, you know, I'm not against the idea.
If you have it, if you ever look it up,
guns, so, you know.
If you ever look up Miami Airsoft. There's tons of videos online of people getting pissed off at people like shooting people too close and stuff. And there's no engagement rules, so you can literally roll up on someone at like point blank, bro.
Okay, well, fair warning on that, I suppose.
Bro, I fucking love airsoft, bro, and I hate playing with I don't hate playing with little kids, but I like playing like grown man airsoft, which is fucking fun, bro. There's actually a video on my YouTube. You probably will get off after this, but if you ever stumble into it, there's a video of me getting blown up with a grenade on there, like an airsoft grenade, where I slip and fall, and I go to grab it to like toss it back at him, and as soon as I go to grab it, it just. Oh, it's so perfect, bro. It's so perfect. But yo, we're about to pick the ticket here. Okay. And I said this: one ticket, one winner, one prize pack, and we're gonna let it ride because there's people who still haven't gotten their tickets yet. So we're gonna let it ride for 48 hours. So we're gonna let it ride till Tuesday night, and then we're gonna pull another ticket. If your name or ticket isn't called, just hold on to your ticket. Do not get rid of your ticket because we're giving away items during the show, February 14th at Positive Vibes. Just so you guys know, do not get rid of your ticket. Hold on to your ticket. Okay, so the winner for tonight's raffle is going to be 212-259. 212-259. That's the poll. If you're on here. Oh, can I ask what the price? Oh, the price pack. Bro, I'm sorry, Johnny, you must have not been here earlier, bro. It's no biggie. I'll show you again real quick. Tonight, we're giving away glass. You're going to get a Lerk key. So it's a two-headed Lerk key. It actually has, one is a telemagenta head. The other is Neptune with an opal. And then it's got wavy gravy line work, which is like a rainbow line work pattern. And then there's 6 hat pins. So you get the 6 set of hat pins, which there's only 100 made of each. And then 2 patches as well as a cork mat is what you're going to get. But it's a Lerk. It's like a Lerk burnt cork mat. So you guys can see that. But anyways, though, the number is 212. Here, I'm going to write it down here so everybody knows. And this is going to be up on the Instagram for the next few days. Like I said, there's a bunch of people with no boxes yet, with USPS just being slow. So thank you guys again for chilling. 212-259. We're putting it up on the page. And thank you guys for chilling. Thanks, Nib Glass, again, for being in the interview. It's been a great one, y'all. We're going to get this.
It's been great. I had a great time.
Thank you again, bro. We're going to get this edited, and we're going to get this posted on YouTube here in the next few days, hopefully, so everybody can rewatch it again.
I'll post it up on my page, too.
Nib will repost it. Yo, mad love.